Peace, love, and prosperity to all of humanity on planet Earth. This is Abdul Smith Alkabir, Sultan of the Empire of Morocco, the de jure and legitimate Sultan of the Empire of Morocco. And today is November 15th, Saturday, November 15th. Uh, First time in a long time that I'm back into the virtual classroom teaching classes. I was told when I first became Sultan to stop teaching classes. You know, I was kind of, in hindsight, it was like a somewhat of a move to disappear me from the consciousness of the people, and the direct interaction with the people. That started to show here recently with these podcasts, or this particular podcast that I was frequenting every month. It became a problem, um, to the point where this individual wants to write a policy to control uh, my appearances, or what I say or don't say or do or not do. Um, it was an interesting ordeal as Sultan working with the Ampac 2.0 faction. So anyhow, we already know what has taken place. Um, there's been some political discourse taking place within the empire, and I had been excommunicated um, shortly after issuing an affidavit. And obviously, I didn't have a platform or a voice to speak. So, um, this is the first time that I actually get a chance to do so and break down certain pertinent points that um, a lot of people have been overlooking. Um, but I've been calling it out. So, but not in a formal setting with reference points and things of that nature. Um, we'll be talking about many different things today, not just this coup d'etat or failed coup d'etat or attempted coup d'etat against the empire and myself. Um, there's much more to discuss. There's a lot of wonderful forward progress that's taken place. This cleansing of the government has brought about nothing short of good graces from the ancestors and the Almighty. A lot of good people have showed up. A lot of good people have came back since these folks, AMPAC 2.0, had been removed. So as we see, there's a back and forth remove thing. They saying that they removed me. I'm saying that I removed them. I'm gonna show you my side of the story based on documents, certain allegations that has come on to me. But we're also gonna talk about forward progress. Um, and a lot of great things that's in store for the empire now that we have cleansed the government from this internal cancer. Because it was a cancer. Full control um, of all aspects of the government, um, with the excuse that wears many hats. And someone that has to mute themselves, please. Need someone to mute themselves. Um, I can't go through reference points and then also look at the participants to see who's off mute so that I can mute them, right? But I know, good brother, Mafi ill. I need you to mute yourself if you don't mind, good brother. Everyone, please mute themselves. And whenever you have a point of interest, just say point of interest and then ask your question. We can maintain order and decorum in the meeting, in the class. So let's begin by examining what's being said that I'm doing or that I was doing, which was a coup d'etat. This is what their class, I gotta do something here. This is what their class had promoted, which I consider a smear campaign. I gotta move some things around so that I can display Uh, my bottom bar. I forgot to set that up. My computer is weird with that. I got to set up the bottom bar that pulls up. Um, there you go. You see this bottom bar? Uh, I have to put it to the side, and Zoom interferes with it for some reason. Um, okay, so let's talk about what they said I did, what he said I did, because it's really a he thing, and everyone else is just, oh, okay, that makes sense, that makes sense. Whatever you say, chief, that makes sense, that makes sense. You know, that's this is how it's been with wazirs and the council. In the Wazir Council meetings, there's never any pushback on anything. It's always, oh, that makes sense, that makes sense. I mean, oh, that makes sense. I mean, it's like, wow, do you guys have your own ideas? It was very frustrating. Can somebody please read for me what this definition? This is, by the way, the Britannica Encyclopedia, and it's being based on Napoleon and his study of by Jacques Louis David. But we're only going to go. It's a treatise, but we're just going to go with this top explanation and definition. Can somebody please read coup d'état?
Islam, coup d'etat, the sudden violent overthrow of an existing government by a small group. The chief prerequisite for a coup is control of all or part of the armed forces, the police, and other military elements. Unlike a revolution, which is usually achieved by large numbers of people working for basic social, economic, and political change, a coup is a change in power from the top that merely results in the abrupt replacement of leading government personnel. A coup rarely alters a nation's fundamental social and economic policies, nor does it significantly redistribute power among competing political groups.
Okay, it was, gratitude for that, Wazir. So we're gonna compare and contrast two different definitions of coup d'état. The sudden, this was sudden. It wasn't violent. Um, though you could say so with the smear campaign. That was a violent smear campaign. It was an excellent smear campaign. And I give them props for that, but it didn't do nothing. Not against me, at least. It just proved who they are. The sudden, violent overthrow of an existing government by a small group, right? A small group, Manpack 2.0, right? The chief prerequisite for a coup is control of all or part of the armed forces, the police, and other military elements. Let's examine that for a second. In these varying stages of advancement of decolonization and building out the political institutions of the Empire of Morocco, obviously we don't have or absent of armed forces and police and military elements. What is it that we do have? The three branches of government. So what he did was seize control of all, not part, all, right, of the three branches, with the exception of one, which was the from the state of Maru Mountain. Everyone else, all the wazirs and all the Sarajas, is that, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? They this is what it is with them. It's cult followership. It's always been that way. Um, this is why he wears many hats, because he's allowed to do all the work while everyone else just doesn't do anything really for the most part. Not nothing of significant value. Uh, One of the main concerns was who's going to write the documents. See, this is how he was able to seize control over all three branches. Is based in dependency, Stockholm syndrome. Unlike a revolution, which is usually achieved by large numbers of people working for basic social, economic, and political change, a coup is a change in power from the top that merely results in the abrupt replacement of leading government uh, personnel. Right. So the change of the leading government personnel was based in a state of emergency due to a coup coming into the empire. Strength L, I think it is. I think you may need to mute yourself. A coup rarely alters a nation's fundamental social and economic policies, nor does it significantly redistribute power among competing political groups. See, so this part right here, usually achieved by large numbers of people. A coup is a change in power from the top that merely results in the abrupt replacement of leading personnel. All right. Okay. So now let's go to the other one. And you're going to stop and you're just going to read the first paragraph. Whoever, please.
Yeah. A coup is typically an illegal and overt attempt by a military organization or other government elites to unseat an incumbent person or leadership. A self coup is said to take place when a leader, having come to power through legal means, tries to stay in power through illegal means.
Islam gratitude. Stop right there. And you see, there's somewhat of a difference in the two definitions. You see? Now let's look at this one. A um a coup or simply a coup d'etat or simply a coup is typically an illegal and overt attempt by a military organization or other government elites. Impact 2.0, government elites, to unseat an incumbent person or leadership. Who is the incumbent person or leadership or person or leadership or leader, or in this case, Sultan, that was being unseated? That would be me. A self coup is said to take place when a leader having come to power through legal means tries to stay in power through illegal means. So I just became Sultan. What, in a year and a half or so? I have no need to stay in power. I still got what, 5.5 years left. I won't. My term wouldn't be up to be until 2031. So if you said that I'm performing a coup or a self coup, well, you can't say a coup because I'm the head of state. I'm the incumbent person. So I can't I wouldn't be couping myself under that definition. But if you say that a self coup is for me to try to stay in power by illegal means, okay, if you could prove that, or if you could say that, I should say, then what's the illegal means? Then that would mean amending the Constitution as an example. Change language within the Constitution to extend my time in office. Like as an example, it says 7 years, I might change it to 10 years. Unbeknownst to the people, unbeknownst to the government, right? I'll secretly do it, which will be illegal means, which also will be considered a high crime. That can't be proven. In fact, there wasn't even any attempts made to prove any of what they stated. They just said that I did it. Or not even they, he just said that I did it, and everyone else said, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm not saying this to be facetious. This is what they say, especially the Wazirs. So I was part of it, and I was intimately part of it. This was always the response. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Rarely would they give pushback on anything, and if they did, they would turn back around and say, okay, yeah, you're right. Type, it's just so that's part of the issue is the cult fellowship dependency, uh, fear, uh, mindset, and energy that existed within the council. So, you know, if anyone gave any pushback, it was me. In many cases, I felt compelled to go along because all the Wazirs was going along with certain things. Um, so we just established what a coup d'etat is, right? This one here, coup is a change in power from the top, such as myself as the sultan. Merely results in the abrupt replacement of leading government personnel. So what just took place here was an abrupt replacement of leading government personnel, but not based on a coup d'etat. It was based on a state of emergency. Okay. So what happened? We gotta go back to this date. This is what we gotta go back to. This is what we gotta go back to. So we can dispel this foolish claim of coup d'etat, which, by the way, it came to my attention that in his latest recording, he said I got removed because I was undermined the matriarchs. It's like, make up your mind, brother. What is it? Is it a coup d'etat, a self coup? Is it overthrow? What? I'm just removing people. I went unhinged and just started removing people for no reason. What? I mean, I've heard so many different things. There's been the narrative just kept changing and kept changing. So this is where it all essentially started with a veto the bill. But before we speak on this veto, let's go to let's fast forward to the 5th, right? The 5th of October. This is the High Court of the House, in which they brought this case against me. Sarah Council Ex Rel Empire of Morocco versus Abdul Alkabir, the Sultan. Okay? So this is an application. House of Sarah's vote of no confidence against the Sultan, right? Application. Instituting criminal complaint proceeding filed in the registry of the High Court. Keep in mind, there's only one individual that wrote any of this up. McCullough didn't write this up. Any of the House members didn't type this up. We know who put pen to pad on this. We know who authored all of this on behalf of the legislative branch. Okay, so the parties. On October 4th, 2025, I, Makara Ill, Speaker of the House, submit this application on behalf of the Sarah Council, ex-rel, Empire of Morocco, hearing the plaintiff. She didn't write that. This dispute is against Abdul Smith Alkabir, the Sultan hearing the defendant. Defendant is sued in his official capacity. 3. This complaint is intended to initiate urgent provisional measures pursuant to expressed, implied, or inherent powers of Chapter 10, the High Court of the of the House, Articles 81, clauses 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution of the Empire of Morocco, inter alia. Complaint for judgment and immediate removal. Short background regarding motive. Okay, so this is the short background regarding the motive. Can someone please read, start here at number 4? And we're gonna please make it a clean read, and I'll be stopping you along the way, just so you know.
Islam. Number 4, the defendant, Sultan Abdul Al-Kabir, short title Al-Kabir, violated and continues to violate Articles 3, 7, 10, and 18 inter alia of the fundamental laws of the Constitution.
Pause right there for a second. So I'm violating 3, 7, 10, and 18. Okay, so let's look at Article 3. Yeah, Article 3. Where is it at? Right here. Article 3, subsection 1, national sovereignty shall vest. Let me verify that it did say Article 3 and not Chapter 3. Article 3, okay. National sovereignty shall vest in the people, who shall exercise it through their representatives and referendums of the state. No section of the people nor any individual may arrogate to itself or themselves the exercise of a public office thereof. The right to vote may be direct or indirect as provided for by the Constitution and the Institutional Act. All Moroccan nationals who have reached the age of adulthood and have their civil and political rights may vote as provided for by the Institutional Act. 5. Prior felony convictions shall not prejudice the right to vote. That's Article 3. That's Article 3. Subsection 1, subsection 2, 3, 4, or 5 apply to anything. I'm not sure why they're saying that I'm violating Article 3 unless you're just trying to make something out of nothing, right? Okay. So then you say Article 7. Go to Article 7. This could be the only thing. The Prime Minister of the executive branch shall be appointed by the Sultan for a term of 7 years and may only hold office for 2 consecutive terms per the Constitution. Appointment terms are implicated in the Institutional Act. 2, the prime minister shall be first in line of succession to the office of sultan if the sultan becomes incapacitated by relinquishment, impeachment, or death. 3, or subsection 3, only His Majesty the Sultan can remove the prime minister from office per the Institutional Act and upon the advisement, this is key, of the Constitutional Council. Fair enough. Fair enough. So we'll talk about that. And then for the obligation of the institutional council, institutional act shall not prejudice the Constitution. So if we're talking about Article 7, then we're talking about Article 7, Section 3, because this is the complaint that they're making. All right? Okay. What else? Article 10, my favorite article. Rashid, could you please read Article 10, please? And put an emphasis on the words that's highlighted, the highlighted in green. Thank you.
That's wrong. Article 10. The Sultan shall preside over the prime minister as the absolute sovereign authority in all matters of political, legal, judicial, education, economic, social, and military affairs.
Can you please read it one more time?
Article 10. The Sultan shall preside over the prime minister as the absolute sovereign authority in all matters of political, legal, judicial, education, economic, social, and military affairs.
Gratitude, Wazir of MT. So let's do Mr. Diaz, Mr. Spencer a favor here. And let's go. Does this dictionary look familiar just by the structure and the font? Does this look familiar to you all? What does BLD up here, BLD forward PDF stands for? Black's Law Dictionary. Could you please read preside for me, please? Right here, preside.
Preside, to occupy the place of authority or of president, chairman, moderator, etc. To direct, control, or regulate proceedings as chief officer, or to preside at public meetings, to preside over the Senate.
You can skip over the case law and just go to the next definition.
All right. To preside over a court is to hold it, to direct, control, and govern it as the chief officer. A judge may preside whether sitting as a sole judge or as one of several judges.
All right. So to occupy the place of authority, or of president, chairman, moderator, etc., to direct, control, or regulate proceedings as chief officer. This is what preside means. Authority, direct, control, regulate. My Taj voice. Are we clear? All right. Let's go. We're going to skip past a part of this buffoonery real quick for a second, just to get to his definition. Where is it? Like right here, part 3, violation of Article 10, abuse of emergency powers. And he says the Sultan has become unhinged by unlawfully invoking Article 10 of the Constitution as provided, right? We'll read that though. But so he says here, it is further important to note, pursuant to legal context, that during a recorded governmental meeting dated May 21st, 2025, the Sultan was clearly advised by Chief Judge J. Bey, that Article 10 does not invoke arbitrary powers. The Chief Judge explained the implied powers as it relates to the term preside, the implied powers as it relates to the term preside. The Chief Judge made it clear to the Sultan and the members of 3 branches that the term preside is broken down into 3 parts where the notion of emergency power. Please, what preside means. 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 What pres
The term preside means indirect observation during peace times. Section 2, the term preside means only for the Sultan to assist the Prime Minister directly when petitioned for mediation peace purposes. Section 3, the term preside means for the Sultan to assist the Prime Minister directly during emergency powers when petitioned by the Prime Minister or House members for arbitration purposes.
This is where did we just read the definition of preside?
Yes, sir.
In what dictionary?
Black's Law Dictionary.
I'm just saying. And let's not talk about peace times, wartime. No, period. Article 10 is specific. That's under all circumstances. That's not peacetime and war. No, Article 10 is specific. And I'll read it again. The Sultan shall preside over the Prime Minister, period, as the absolute sovereign authority in all matters of political, legal, judicial, education, economic, social, and military affairs. That's the People's Clause. Who holds the the biggest weight on their shoulders? Who holds the most responsibility? Who is the people more directly linked to? The Sultan or the head of state? 1,000,000 people, 100 people, 10 people, 10,000 people, 20 million people came together and said, we want this one person to represent us at the United Nations or on an international stage. All millions of people can't represent all millions of people. One person got to represent all those people. But if anything goes wrong with our country, it all falls on you, sir. So you may have Article 10 because you need to have your tentacles in everything to ensure that everything is being conducted according to the will of the people. Let me remind y'all something, and I'm talking to AMPAC 2.0. Jay Bay did not write this Constitution. I know he likes to say, I wrote the Constitution. You didn't write the Constitution, sir. It was politically prepared, if you will. If Noble Drew Ali divinely prepared the Circle 7, then you politically prepared the Constitution because it's a French Constitution, where it might have said the president shall preside over the prime minister as the absolute sovereign authority. He just basically said, okay, we have a sultan, so the sultan shall preside over the prime minister. That's a French constitution, and it was chosen because it was the closest thing to the empire due to the fact that they were connected to the empire for centuries, even down to the French protectorate of 1912 to 1956. That's why he chose this constitution. It's a copy, paste, plug, and play constitution, not a written constitution from scratch. Let's not play. Let's not play. So, under all circumstances, whether it's war or not, the Sultan, the head of state, the president of France, preside over the prime minister of France as the absolute sovereign authority, period. But this is the silver fork tonguing that goes along with dealing with this brother when his back is against the wall, or in any other circumstance for that matter, whether in a positive or in the negative. Okay. So we've established, thus far, we've established something real critical here. Now, he's saying about invoking arbitrary powers. It's not invoking arbitrary powers. But what I'll say is this. I'm going to be skipping around. This is October 1st. This is an affidavit. Let me go back. Constitutional crisis, sedition in the Empire of Morocco. And I didn't call for a state of emergency. I titled it State of Emergency. This is becoming a state of emergency. Let's go down here. Suspend these officials. Suspend these officials pending the conclusion of this investigation. Who are these officials? These folks right here. AMPAC 2.0. Monica Ortega, DeAndre Drabe, and Jermaine Diaz Spencer. They were under suspension due to an affidavit calling for an investigation. Immediately commence a formal and exhaustive investigation. All three of these people, which this guy here was the prime minister, executive chief of staff, chief judge, all three of them are subordinate to me. Period. We just went over Article 10 as it relates to the prime minister. So what do you think about the judge and the executive chief of staff? Was that over all of them? But that's part of that recording that he's referring to up here is where he was trying to dated May 21st. Sultan, you don't have no power. All the power goes to the prime minister. The prime minister holds all the power. You got to be mindful not to cannibalize the prime minister. My mindset at the time was, well, I ain't worried about that because here's the other part. So your power is external, is out there somewhere. Your power is with the Europeans. When we decolonize, all your authority falls on the Europeans, but internally you ain't got no powers. It's just the prime minister. It's all on the prime minister. Yet the Constitution says something different in Article 10. But he preyed on the fact that I'm not hungry for power. Not against the Moors, at least. I'm trying to collect them taxes from these foreigners. I'm trying to put them in check. I'm trying to decolonize. That's where I want to exercise my power. I tell the Moors all the time, like, don't even call me your majesty. Like, that's kind of cringy. Just Sultan is fine. It's fair enough. That's good enough. But the Moors still do the your majesty thing, and it's cool. But I've gotten used to it at this point. But it's them who's going to call me your majesty. Your majesty, here's your regularly owed taxes and tributes. Yeah, let's go with that. That's where I'm at with this. And he prayed on that. So I'm like, okay, I mean, that's cool. I ain't tripping on that. But I'm not thinking, I'm still in a state of trust. I'm not thinking there's a underlying thing going on here. I'll explain further. Because the prime minister is a member of AMPAC. AMPAC 2.0. Let's get to the veto real quick. Because this is really what set off the alarm, what set everything off. Now, before I read it, notice that I got here pursuant to Article 5, Section 8. So let's go to Article 5, Section 8. Right here. Let's just highlight with written cause. That's the legally binding provision of that subsection. With written cause, His Majesty the Sultan is entitled to veto any governmental act passed by the Speaker of the House or the Prime Minister without delay. That's all it says. It doesn't say nothing else. But he's made the argument that I require a countersign or consultation. I need a countersign from the Prime Minister or consultation from the Speaker. I'm constantly needing to talk to somebody. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mind consultation, and we'll get to that. But consultation certainly does not mean permission. This article is specific. If that's what's required, it would say, with written cause and a countersign from the Prime Minister and consultation from the Speaker, His Majesty the Sultan is entitled to veto any governmental act. But that's not what it says, does it? So why are we adding language that doesn't exist? As an example. Keisha, I need you to say, Speaker, I need you to mute yourself. Right? So, someone please read this veto, because this is what set it off.
Islam. Pursuant to Article 5, Section 8 of the Empire of Morocco Constitution, I am returning here without my approval, the policy on chain of command of complaints, email and communication chain of command policy, policy on domestic sensitive materials, and policy on complaint procedures, without delay, effective immediately.
Okay, pause right there real quick. These policies, when it was brought to the floor for discussion, there was a lot of questions that were being asked. They had to go back twice or so to reword some things because no one felt comfortable with it. After that meeting, I got a lot of correspondences, whether it be text messages or phone calls, questioning the nefarious nature of these policies. One of the wazirs who basically betrayed the Constitution and the empire and myself from Ampag, he called me and told me, Sultan, I think that they're trying to circumvent your power and authority. This is what he told me. But yeah, he's over there. Okay, stay over there. But he caught it then with these policies. Continue, brother.
My reason for said disapproval is due to detected nefarious activity surrounding the drafting of these policies. As the author, Chief Justice J. Jermaine Bey rushed to draft these policies in a moment in which his character and behavior was in question and under scrutiny by Consul General Kanye Shobey. Before reaching out to me as the Sultan, the Consul General attempted to reach out to the Prime Minister, but to no avail. The Consul General of the Empire was severely disrespected by Chief Judge J. Bey and used the same mechanisms to provide evidence of his claim that is now being stifled by these policies. Additionally, as a member of the judiciary, J. Bey has no political interest in writing policies for the executive branch, policies that he would one day use to adjudicate a potential case. All policies rest with the government as outlined in Article 23, Section 1 of our Constitution. For these reasons, I find these policies to be unconstitutional and notwithstanding. Furthermore,
Hold that thought. Sorry about that. 1 second. Article 23, Section 1. But then the excuse is, well, I'll wear many hats. Okay, well, how about you take some of them off? What does Article 23, Section 1 says?
the government shall determine the policy of the empire.
Okay, I'm just saying. Now let's go to Article 75. Shall we? Real quick. Could you read subsection 1, please?
His Majesty the Sultan shall be the grantor of the independence of the Moorish judicial authority.
What am I the grantor of?
Of the independence.
Okay,
of
so
the Moorish.
the independence of the Moorish judicial authority, the judicial branch, the judiciary. So what that means then, for me to say this right here, please read that again. Please read that again.
Additionally, as a member of the judiciary, J. Bey has no political interest in writing policies for the executive branch, policies that he would one day use to adjudicate a potential case. All policies rest with the government as outlined in Article 23, Section 1 of our Constitution. For these reasons, I find these policies to be unconstitutional and notwithstanding.
Am I out of order here? Somebody come off mute and tell me that I'm out of order according to Article 75, Article 23, Section 1, and what I just stated here. Or can we agree, or can someone come off mute and say that they agree that I was doing my job?
Wholeheartedly.
Agree.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay. Continue, brother. Furthermore.
Furthermore, specific to the policy of domestic sensitive materials, it is a clear attempt to suppress the disrespectful, unpatriotic, and damaging statements made towards His Majesty by Chief Judge J. Jermaine Bey and Executive Chief of Staff Nova Ilu El during a recorded meeting dated June 28, 2025. Statements made such as "AMPAC don't play that" by the Executive Chief of Staff, alluding to the idea that the state of AMPAC is the sovereign over the empire and His Majesty the Sultan. And "I'm the director and producer, and you are just a lead actor," stated by the Chief Judge while addressing His Majesty the Sultan. Many other insolent and damaging things as an attack against His Sharifian Majesty were stated for the record. I asked the Prime Minister to share this recording with the Consul General, and unfortunately, he attempted to flag this recording as private. Shortly thereafter, the policy on domestic sensitive materials was drafted by the same subordinate, defiant, and belligerent judge who egregiously insulted the Sultan on the record and before the government, House, and judiciary.
Okay, pause right there. Coming back up. AMPAC don't play that. After that meeting, that statement played in my head over and over and over. The hell you mean AMPAC don't play that? Coupled with, because I didn't even say the other stuff, lead actor. He said you're a lead actor, and he also said placeholder. So if AMPAC don't play that, and I'm just a lead actor and placeholder, does that mean that AMPAC has something in mind for me here? And what are you gonna do? Chess move me to make the Prime Minister the Sultan? What do we got going on here? That combination made me uneasy. Is where I started to see he told us his truth in that recording. In that recording, he kept expressing the fact that he did not want to do this publicly. He wanted it to be private, which is why now he wants the recording to be private. But who said that it's private? The Prime Minister. At the time, Prime Minister. I asked the Prime Minister to share this recording with the Consul General. Now I'm reminding you, the person who said AMPAC don't play that, the judge who said he's the director and producer, and everyone is an actor, because if I'm the actor, then everyone else is the actor. It's an actor too. If I'm the lead actor, everyone are supporting cast members, right? Everyone is replaceable and are placeholders. Okay, and the so-called Prime Minister at the time. That's who's in the affidavit. So why would the Prime Minister say, "Oh, it's private," when it was actually a public recording? Because the judge told him to say that. The Dre Bay is a puppet, personal allegiance, and whatever J Bay says is what goes. This is just how it is, and this was one of the main problems that I was encountering dealing with AMPAC 2.0. You may continue finishing up, good brother. My highest obligation.
Islam. My highest obligation as Sultan is to protect the empire and its people by observing the Constitution. And when concerns arise regarding the health of the empire, I shall swiftly settle the matter on behalf of the people, regardless of the opposition. As a matter of countermeasures for these inappropriate and despicable policies, the Consul General has drafted a bill to establish a human resource department that shall be brought to the floor of the government in the House for review and possible ratification. These proposed policies under a bill of consideration authored by Chief Justice J. Bey are incongruous and unconstitutional, therefore has earned my veto and disapproval.
Thank you right there. Ready to leave it right there. I appreciate you. This is the veto that set off a storm because of what was being exposed. Now I'm talking about this recording that he don't want people to hear. It's very damaging with the things that he said. I made you Sultan. As if Ampag didn't vote for me and many other nationals, Moroccan nationals voted for me. Ampag is who made the difference. I wrote your letters. No, you didn't. So the narrative that they have is, oh, he's just mad at the chief, and so he wants to bring. No, I don't care about all that. Because at the end of the day, did he not cross branches here? But we'll get to the affidavit to make it clearer. This has been going on for a very long time. And what any national who's going to listen to this need to understand is this. I let a lot of things go because I couldn't do anything in the moment because of the personal allegiance and the cult fellowship that I had already witnessed and experienced from the Wazir Council. Everything is always okay, yeah, wait, that makes sense. Okay, Jay Bayer, that makes sense. There's no fortitude there. So I can't go against him and all of them without any evidence and proof of things to stand on, even though that in and of itself is proof. But I needed more. There's way more. There's a lot more. It was always an ongoing thing. I needed something more, a little stronger to finally say, okay, enough is enough. But I had already gotten to that point. I was getting to that point. Enough is enough. This is just ridiculous. It's J Bay's way or the highway. We had a meeting that Wednesday when I submitted the affidavit with Makara and Dre as so-called the prime minister and the speaker, having a mediation meeting with him. And he stated in that meeting, I didn't put this together for you to be the leader of the people. I'm going to be the one who leads the people. I'm like, what? It's about us all doing this together. I thought it was about sharing the, like, my hand is going to be on the driver's seat. I'm going to either be in the driver's seat or the passenger seat with my left hand on the steering wheel or in the back seat. But I'm going to be no accountability. But that's irrelevant. Let's get to the law. But let's get back over here. This is a lot to read and dissect. But there's a few things that needs to be looked at. Where are we? Okay, so okay, continue with this background where you had left off. The defendant, or if there's another person that want to read, because let's not hog it. If there's someone else that want to read, because if not, then you just go ahead, brother Rashid.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, brother Rashid.
The defendant, Sultan Abdul Alkabir, short title Alkabir, violated and continues to violate.
No. You're gonna skip down here.
Oh, the defendant. It's on. The defendant has issued a state of emergency under false pretenses. Defendant's actions are merely politically motivated because has recently become averse to his mastery teacher, J. Jermaine Bey. Defendant wants to be admired and looked up to in an identical way as the majority of the people look up to J. Bey. Even as recently as October 1st, 2025, the Alkabir stated during a small council meeting that he considers J. Bey as similar to Noble Ali. As a matter of fact, Alkabir stated that others feel the same way about J. Bey.
Okay, let me pause right there. You see, this is the foolishness that I'm talking about. Well, anyone can go back and listen to that recording. The man was in there complaining, I don't get my flowers. He literally was complaining about that. I don't get my flowers. I don't get credit. So I take credit. I got to give myself credit. This is what he was saying. Come on, Dre, pull up the recording. Pull up the recording. I don't get credit. I don't get flowers. So I was saying, bro, what are you talking about? People look at you as that, as Noble Drew Ali. I have said it, but that ain't got nothing to do with character, because I don't even know Noble Drew Ali's character, and I'm sure Noble Drew Ali's character is not snaky. I'm pretty sure of that. No, it's the works, right? The fact that you're bringing the other half that wasn't told. That's definitely the Impact Study Sessions. I must give it credit. It brought the other half that wasn't told. But I didn't say I admire you and all this. What he said, what I was trying to tell the dude is, hey man, what are you talking about? People look up to you. People give you all types of flowers and credit. There's no bigger credit and honor than someone saying that they remind you of Noble Drew Ali, sir. That's for the proper context. This is what I'm talking about right here. I wish you would release that recording and snip that little part out, and let's get back, come back to this subsection 4 and examine this paragraph. Continue, brother. And that's not a legal argument either, by the way. Let me go back. Hold on. Okay, so he says that the defendant wants to be admired and looked up to in an identical way as the majority of the people look up to J-Bay. Let me say this for the record. Let me say this for the record. On the record. There is no empire. There is no WRC without Abdul Smith Bey and the Ampac media classes. I already experienced the looking up to. I've already experienced the being admired. You know how many times people always in those classes, after the classes, man, you motivate me, you inspire, even with that that podcast that he had a problem with, so-called grown folk talking. I left those people with full motivation and inspiration. I'm not here for all that. Furthermore, I'm the Sultan. What is this? I'm already admired as the Sultan. You know how much accolades I get and how much credit and props and what is he? You see, this is why I'm trying to go over this. First of all, it's not even a legal argument, and it's not even a factual thing to say, because I'm not adverse to you because of this stuff. If I'm adverse to you, it's because of the violations and the usurpation, sir. I mean, isn't the Sultan a higher and more um what word I'm looking for? Um higher level, or let's say luxurious title than excuse me, judge? Nah, if I'm not the Sultan, I want to be the Minister of Foreign Affairs or something dealing with politics. I'm not a law guy. I wouldn't want to be no attorney general, consul general, or judge. That wouldn't be me. I'm all about politics. I'm a politician. I'm about working and dealing with the people directly, not locking them up. Right? Like I can't be a judge. I have too much of a heart. I let people slide with everything. I'm not meant to be a judge. I'm better suited as a politician. I'm where I belong. I'm happy with where I'm at. Uh, just to make this clear. Go ahead, brother. Subsection 5. This is crazy.
Well, subsection 5. Evidence will place a bright spotlight on the true purpose and intent of Alkabir's coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat
Is because of envy and the need to remove J-Bay and others so that he himself can take the place of J-Bay's name and likeness. In other words, Alkabir does not want to share the spotlight with his teacher anymore. Alkabir wants to discredit his teacher now that he's become the Sultan. He feels as though J-Bay has no more use.
It's funny. This is hilarious, bro. Now that he has become the Sultan, I've been the Sultan for a year and a half. Like, what do you mean? Like, you act like I just became Sultan like last week or something, and now that I'm the Sultan, I don't like you all of a sudden. Like, come on. I had a year and a half to see what was going on. And now that I'm pulling the trigger on it, oh, now I'm envious of you. I'm the Sultan. What's there to be? I just listen, man. This is narcissistic, weirdo stuff. Continue, bro. And it has absolutely no legal. Look at what he said. The evidence will place a bright spotlight on the true purpose and intent of Alkabir's coup d'état. So I am. Where is it at? Right? Coup d'état right here. An illegal and overt attempt by a military organization or other government elites to unseat an incumbent person. Well, I'm already the Sultan. I'm already the incumbent Sultan. I am the leader. And if you say self-coup, well, again, uh, take place when a leader, having come to power through legal means, tries to stay in power through illegal. Well, that's not what you're saying, that I'm trying to stay in power. So you're not saying a self-coup. You're saying a coup. But I'm the head of state, though. Make it make sense. I hope y'all hear this. I hope you guys are listening to what's going on here. I hope you guys are. I'm trying my best to bring clarity to this, more clarity to this, because I've already done so. But I'm doing it a little bit more now in a more formal setting and more with more time. Because I've been doing it in just like in meetings and in meetings and conversations with the officials, but not as a means to bring full clarity and taking my time in doing this. Okay, so this is where we're at. I'm envious of him. And so because of that, I want him to be removed. It has absolutely nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with an emotional argument of envy and jealousy. Okay, continue, brother. Subsection 6.
Subsection 6. It is important to note that Al-Kabir owes a great deal of gratitude to Chief Justice J. Bay, because without him, there would not be an emerged sultan, nor would there be this newfound person known as Abdul Smith Alkabir, ex-real Abdul Smith Bey.
You see that? This is all ego, arrogance. See, arrogance is his biggest downfall. It is important to note, this is important, that Alkabir owes a great deal of gratitude to Chief Justice J. Bay, because without him, without J. Bay, this is what he was telling me, right? In that recording. There would not be an emerged sultan, nor would there be his newfound person, known as a newfound person, shall we put it? Known as Abdul Smith Alkabir. Okay. All right. Well, fair enough, but that's not a legal argument. That's not a reason to impeach a head of state. But I appreciate your opinion in the matter. That's all it really is an opinion. Continue, brother. Number 7.
Subsection 7. I recall that Abdul Bey changed his name to Abdul Al-Kabir shortly after being elected to the seat of the Sultan. I think the people should have a clear understanding of what the name Al-Kabir means, because it would help the people to understand the narcissistic behavior of a self-centered man who wants all power and control by issuing a fictitious state of emergency as a way of grabbing all power from other elected and appointed officials of the government.
Pause right there. There wasn't this. What date is this? The fifth. That state of emergency came on the 4th through a document. But what he's really referring to is the fact that I put state of emergency on an affidavit. This is an affidavit titled Constitutional Crisis and Sedition in the Empire of Morocco, State of Emergency. But I didn't invoke a state of emergency. I'm saying this is coming to that if we don't settle what's being stated here. I know who I'm dealing with. I didn't expect it. I considered slithering past an investigation, because this would have been his 3rd investigation. 3rd between AMPAC 1.0 that he coup d'etat that became AMPAC 2.0, because he did the same thing to Daoud, by the way. Wazir Daoud Habib El Amin right? He couped him, and I fell for the banana in the tailpipe. So I already know the playbook. This is suspension. No language in here, and we're going to read it. You're not going to see anything talking about no invoking any state of emergency, nothing. It did not happen until the fourth state of emergency address. See how he's playing? See how he's playing? Okay. So I'm trying to seize all power. I'm a self-centered. Now everyone knows me. Not everyone doesn't know me, but everyone that knows me, they know good and full well that I'm not a narcissistic behavior of a self-centered man. This is a year and a half later after I got elected. If I was gonna be self-centered and all this stuff, and that would have been happened soon after. I relinquished all my power and authority to him and Dre in trust to say, okay, you got it, okay, cool. I'm gonna just sit back and watch and make sure everything, That's not being self-centered. Is that being self-centered? Somebody please tell me if I'm able and willing to relinquish the authority to someone else, such as this guy and the prime minister. Will you say that that would be self-centered and want all the power? Can somebody come off mute and tell me what's your thoughts on that?
No, that's not
Yes, this is
self-centered.
Attorney.
Go ahead, my fault.
No, this is Attorney General Kanye Shoban. We have to realize is that the Sultan put people in position, which is called what do you call it when you delegation. So he allowed other officials, he delegated responsibilities to other officials. We also have to remember in our mindset of the Monday night calls, the prime minister was the majority of the people. The prime minister was the main one that was running the calls, along with along with Jermaine, the ex-prime minister and the ex-chief judge. They were running the Monday night calls. So when you talk about the delegation, the Sultan delegated authority to officials that he had trusted, not knowing that there were sidebar conversations, and not knowing that there was judges as Isaac Bey saying that the Sultan wouldn't be the Sultan for long based upon conversations that he was having with Jay. So all understand. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have to all understand is that this coup d'etat that they pulled on the empire wasn't something that just happened between October 1st to October 5th. This had been something that was not mentioning as a coup d'etat, but from the messages that I received as the acting head counsel general, they tried to paint a picture on our Sultan as saying that he didn't want to do his work. He was lazy. He was a procrastinator. He was upset because there was certain bills that they wouldn't allow passed. I mean, that he had to ask for permission to pass, and some of those bills was getting out to the people. He wanted to get out the media through political and social reforms, which certain individuals didn't want him to do that because they were still trying to keep the Empire of Morocco as basically a quote unquote secret. So to answer the Sultan question, if you actually really just use common sense, you would understand that this man was passing the power along to the prime minister, to the speaker. He's never had any issues with the speaker. I mean, never had any. He wasn't trying to sway the speaker to sign off on certain legislations. He allowed the prime minister at the time, to run the Monday night town hall meetings. He presented any information that came forward, and anytime they would ask the Sultan, "Salt, do you have anything to add?" He might chime in here or there, but he was allowing them to basically run the empire. And every time he came up with an idea that certain individuals did not like, this is when the Sultan was kind of put in the light of, well, he's just he doesn't want to write his own letters to Trump, which we see that the Sultan is very erudite in writing letters. He's a procrastinator. I don't think we can all say that the Sultan is a procrastinator. So, for me, this was just all things that you continue to hear as a consul general, and especially as a consul general of the empire. But then when you speak to the Sultan, it's something totally different. And other brothers and sisters just didn't use their common sense. But this document here could be nothing less than a joke. There's no legal arguments nowhere within this document, and it's sort of embarrassing when we talk about uplifting fallen humanity and we talk about the Empire of Morocco. It's sort of embarrassing that our brothers and sisters don't understand a a unilateral self-emotional document versus a legal document. There's nothing legal about anything that's going on with this fraudulent court case that's going on. But this is why we must learn history. The same individual, Jermaine, tried to take your history away from you. Didn't he tell officials that they couldn't use, it would be inappropriate to use Islam in on government meetings? Islam is our word as Moroccans. He told us that we should do things as the Europeans do it. Well, if the Europeans is on our land, shouldn't the Europeans be trying to adjust to us instead of us adjust to them? That's a question for the floor. And I'm not trying to take the floor, but because we've been in the jurisdiction of the United States and we've learned their ways. Isn't it about time for them to learn our ways again as the Empire of Morocco? So, Moors, we have to learn history. We have to know our history. Then we have to know the law. Because you're going to have to enforce law on your own people, not just the Europeans. You're going to have to enforce law. And this is what's happening now. The law was put on officials, ex-officials of the empire. And who was the law? It was the Sultan. It was the head of state. He had to come and save the people from the nefarious activities. So he went to the Constitution. He had to go back. The Sultan had to explain to y'all what the definition of preside meant. Because in this document, he gave you 3 different definitions that does not have anything to do with the definition of preside in any dictionary, etymology dictionary, or anything in the world. They talked about a high crime, but within the Constitution, it doesn't even state what a high crime is. My question more is, did y'all read y'all Constitution? See, because he preys on the weak. He preys on people not reading or not understanding what they're reading. So yeah, the Sultan has to continue to recap. Hopefully, you guys understand what they took your website, which is breaking the constitutional law, because that's intellectual property of the empire. They took people's money, and then, let me cap it off. They told you that Abdul Smith Alkabir is the Sultan by putting on the website the second Sultan. So they told you Abdul Smith Alkabir was the Sultan and still is the Sultan, but we're going to elect a second Sultan. And guess who's all doing this? It's a judge. It was a judge. It wasn't a prime minister. It was a judge. What judge in the world has more power than a prime minister or a sultan or speaker of the house? There's nowhere else.
Except here in Impact 2.0. And that's what we had to deal with.
And that's what we had to deal with, Morris. And we're going to continue to deal with it. We're going to continue to deal with it. And I will have more evidence for y'all next week. Next week, I will clarify. I'll let him finish this document, but I'm going to yield. Next week, I'm going to do a whole session. Because remember, as the head counsel general, I had every court case that we were dealing with as Moors within the empire. And I'm going to have to break down to you guys the criminal activity that Jermaine, Kendon, and Dominique, as well as Jordan Bay, were a part of in the colonial state of Texas. You think the Sultan is breaking this down to you now? It's going to blow your mind what people were doing behind your back and manipulating your mind. I yield. Peace and love to you all.
Islam, appreciate that, AG. And so the new empire, anybody please come off mute from the new empire. So far what you've experienced from me, am I acting self-centered and as if I want all the power? Someone please tell me.
No, you ain't never been like that, Sultan, and they know that.
Ain't never acted like that.
No, I just wanted to get it for the record. I just wanted to get it.
Protecting the
I appreciate that,
Constitution,
Buck.
like you've always.
Islam, right? So if I'm not that now, then I wasn't that then. If anything, like the AG said, I share the power. I delegate it. I let it go. I let it go. I let the prime minister handle his business. I let the speaker handle it. I don't I don't be all in your business until I have to. I let you do what you got to do. I don't have a reason to be melanin and everything. I start to meddle when there's problems, but until then, hey man, y'all have at it. You competent enough to handle your business? That's what he wanted, is all the power. It was his way or the highway. It's no one gets to say and do anything unless it's within the framework of what he says it needs to be like or not be like. Not Abdul Smith Alkabir. Over here, we working together. I'm just guiding things and just there to sign off on things and there as the leader, but I still take the back seat and let the Moors handle their business. And then we come together and we discuss matters. You know, it's a shared power, and we're all in this together. It's not about me. It's about decolonization. It's about the empire. It's about the people. Okay, brother. Now let's go into this other. So what is favorite? If you guys have been watching, especially the earlier ANPAC study sessions, patently frivolous, arbitrary, and capricious. That's what this document is. Go ahead, someone please read subsection 8 and on.
Islam. For the record, subsection 8, for the record, the name Al-Kabir means the most great, the one who is greater than everything in status. The word Kabir in Arabic is commonly associated with physical size or magnitude. Its application to Allah transcends mere physical attributes. In the context of Allah, Al-Kabir signifies his greatness in all respects, encompassing his attributes, power, and sovereignty. The use of the definite article Al emphasizes that Allah is not just great, but the greatest, surpassing any human comprehension or comparison. The essence of the name Al-Kabir in its significance affirms the concept of Tawud, the oneness of Allah. Furthermore, pairing Al-Kabir with Al-Ali, the Most High, underscores the notion that Allah's greatness extends beyond physical dimensions to encompass his exalted status above all creation. This combination highlights Allah's unparalleled greatness and supremacy, emphasizing his perfection and uniqueness. Understanding Allah as Al-Kabir reminds believers of his incomprehensible greatness and serves as a source of awe, reverence, and humility. It reinforces the belief in Allah's omnipotence and omnipresence, inspiring devotion and submission to his will. Overall, Al-Kabir serves as a powerful reminder of Allah's absolute greatness and perfection, transcending any human limitations or mental constructs. No intercession will be of any benefit with him, except by those granted permission by him. At last, when the dread of Judgment Day is relieved from their hearts, because they are permitted to intercede, they will excitedly ask the angels, "What has your Lord just said?" The angels will reply, "The truth, and he is the Most High, all great." Sabah 34:23 reference the most beautiful names of Allah. Subsection 9. For the record, it's clear to see that Abdul Smith Bey changed his name to Al-Kabir because he thinks he thinks he's become the great Allah, meaning he has become God, and that all women and men come beneath him. These are the facts and not naked allegations. The defendant has become deranged and delusional.
Okay, hold
Subsection
right there.
10.
He says that,
Islam.
no, hold right there. So he says facts and not naked allegations. Okay. Well, last I heard, facts come with evidence. You can't say that me applying the name Alkabir to my name is evidence that I think I'm God and man and woman and children are beneath me. Very interesting. It's actually weird. It's narcissistic in nature. Anyone who's been around when I took on the name knows that, first of all this extra deep uh investigative work and research about the name to include all this Allah, the Most High, and all this stuff. I don't know what none of that. I've never seen any of that. This is the first time I'm seeing this. I didn't go that deep with the research. What I did know, however, is that Al Kabir was one of the 99 attributes of Allah. That's all. That's all I needed to know. I didn't need to go into this deep research and this deep dive that he did. Keep in mind that there's other people out here that carry the name Al Kabir, which means they too think that they're greater than God and or is as great as God and above everyone else. This is crazy. Al Kabir means the great. Abdul means servant. So the application of the name means the great uh, uh the great servant of the servant of the people, right? Abdul Al-Kabir, the great servant of the people. It's a name, and he knows this because we've had that discussion. He asked me, why did I take on Al-Kabir? One of the main reasons why was because I know that when I look at all the treaties, all the sultans' name always has some Al something. Al-Kabir, I never seen Al-Kabir, but Al something, Al whatever, Al something, right? Or Il. Plus, it's one of the 5 titles, right? Bey, Day, Ali. I went away from Bey because of some research that I did dealing with the Mamelukes. You guys could look into that. Perhaps I'll do a class on that at some point. But the Bey was applied to the Mamelukes when they were bumped up in rank from being slaves. And these Mamelukes were Europeans that were warrior slaves, right? And they would become Beys and stuff like that. But anyway, that's what I found out. That's what I came across when I did the research for Al Kabir. Not all this extra stuff that he's talking about. The great servant of the people, implying that I have to live up to that name. A great servant of the people. He knows this. He knows that's why I chose that name. Yet he's spinning this narrative about me being above everyone else and so on and so forth. Like, you know, this, but again, even if that's the case, let's assume that's the case. Let's agree to disagree. Let's just say that's the case. You're right, Jay. Show me where in the Constitution that that's impeachable for me to think that I'm the greatest of all time. Where is it? Where does it say that it's it's constitutionally appropriate to impeach someone who thinks he's great or the GOAT or better than humans or in all this. I'm omnipotent and omnipresent. Like, okay, fine. Let's say that's the case. Is that a violation of the Constitution? The answer to that is no. So why is this even part of the argument? Because he has nothing to stand on. Just making up stuff. It's absolutely patently frivolous, arbitrary, and capricious. It's also frivolity. It's a laughable matter. Okay.
So, and
Let's
can I have a point of interest, Sultan?
go ahead.
Um, and it was a great question just asked because I know this is an open discussion. It was a great question that was asked. Um, so the question that was asked from Chloe Ivory was, so is this an official legal document? Um, Sister Chloe, absolutely not. It's not an official legal document. Why? First, the Sultan had already wrote an affidavit of constitutional breach and sedition. And in that affidavit, he suspended, uh, he suspended and asked for an investigation by the acting head counsel general. So whenever someone is suspended, not removed, he didn't remove anybody. He just said, I'm going to suspend these officials for, let's just say 14 days um, until the acting head counsel general is done with the investigation. So you cannot bypass an investigation and suspension and then create your document. Okay. And then in the next so-called question, it says, in your rebuttal, did you address every allegation? So, Sister Chloe, what you have to understand is that the Sultan does not have to address any type of allegations per our Constitution, per the Empire of Morocco Constitution of Article 80, Section 2. So right off the bat, the first violation was creating a document when you were on suspension and under investigation. The second to your question is that the Sultan is not to be tried in any civil or criminal matters per Article 80. He must not stand before any court, especially any fraudulent court, per Article 80, Section 2. And then the remainder is most of this is really hearsay. Absolutely correct. Jay mentioned the articles violated, but didn't state the exact violation. So that lets you know that there was no violation at all. Hopefully, this is thrown out or dismissed. He does not have any type of authority, Sister Chloe, to um, the Sultan does not have to. He's only talking to the people regarding this fraudulent document. Chief Judge J. Bay has been removed. Judge J. Bay, Jermaine Bay, who was at one time Chief Judge J. Bay, has been removed from his office for constitutional breach and sedition. So he did not have the power per the Constitution, Article 10, which says the Sultan is the absolutely sovereign authority, and also per Article 80, Section 2, as well as the Sultan of the Empire of Morocco. I'm explaining this from a legal context as y'all Attorney General. The Sultan of the Empire of Morocco also oversees the judicial branch. So when there's sedition and constitutional breach within the judicial branch, this is when the Sultan must now become activated because the judicial branch is supposed to have a very high ethic and character for law. And this is what did not happen. Am I clear to everyone that's on the call?
Crystal.
No. And let me say this for a second. I appreciate the breakdown, but let's hold the questions to the end so that I can keep this flow going because there's a lot that I need to cover here. If you guys don't mind. This is very important to take a look at, and I appreciate that breakdown and that explanation for that question. I lost my train of thought. What was that? Yeah, right here. I think this is okay. Reading 12.
Subsection 12. Noting further
the High Court will begin to see a pattern of behavior concerning the defendant's inability to keep a promise due to his constant reneging on verbal and written agreements. We, the people, will prove that the defendant's words and expressions are untrustworthy. The evidence will prove that Alkabir is a habitual liar and only seeks to deceive by manipulation and hostile takeover. His first main objective was to remove J-Bay's name and likeness. Defendant's malice behavior is caused by jealousy and envy, and not because J-Bay is involved with the upliftment of our three branches of government.
Islam. Okay. Here we go. More stuff about jealousy and this and that. Noting further, the High Court will begin to see a pattern of behavior concerning the defendant's inability to keep a promise due to his constant reneging on verbal and written agreements. We, the people, will prove that the defendant's words and expressions are untrustworthy. Then it says that I'm a habitual liar and all this and that. Okay, fair enough. Let me do this. Let's come over here to the Consul General's point. Let's assume that's all correct. Okay, fine. I'm untrustworthy. I lie about everything and I don't do nothing. Okay, fair enough. That's cool. Let's go to Article 80, Section 2, the High Court of the House. Now, mind you, very important to note, Makara did not write not one word of this document. Not even God did she write in here. This is all J-Bay. So what you're getting from this document is not the mindset and the perspective of the Speaker of the House, who's supposed to be bringing the charges. It's coming from J-Bay. Okay, so let's assume all this is correct. Fair enough. Article 80, Section 2. What does it say? It states, and I quote, throughout his term of office, the Sultan shall not be required to testify before any court of law or administrative authority, and shall not be the object of any civil proceedings, nor any preferring of charges, prosecutions, or investigatory measures. All limitations, periods shall be suspended for the duration of said term of office. What else? Let's go here. Article 81. This is the most important one, according to this document, because this is the legal argument for my removal. This entire document is the legal argument for my removal. Okay. Article 81, Section 1. His Majesty the Sultan shall not be removed from office during his term thereof on any grounds other than treason, bribery, or other high crimes, patently incompatible with his continuing in office. Such removal from office shall be proclaimed by the House sitting at the High Court. The proposal to convene the High Court adopted by the House shall immediately make its decision known within 15 days of receipt thereof. So you can't prove treason, you can't prove bribery, and you're making a frivolous attempt to prove high crimes. Okay. Are you telling me that me thinking that I'm God and me thinking that I want all the power and reneging on things and so-called lying, is that a high crime? This does not constitute removal. I appreciate the attempt, but it falls short. It's an air ball. And it's absolutely not true, but that's irrelevant. I have no reason or no need to argue this point. There wouldn't even be nobody in the empire if it wasn't for Abdul Smith Bey, who became Abdul Alkabir. Let me say something for the record. What the Consul General was speaking about earlier. These letters to Trump were based in pacific settlement of disputes, mediation, arbitration, conciliation. And he wants it done when he wants it done. Well, I'm busy doing what? Work on behalf of the executive branch regarding the political and social reforms. I was writing press releases. I was writing letters to the BRICS nations. I was writing letters to Ibrahim Traore. And I was working to establish the executive, the media department and communication, and the outreach committee, which took forever to pass because there was holding back on it, and holding back on it, and holding back on it. It took 3 or 4 months before it was finally passed. And then when it was finally passed, when it finally came to my desk, it was along with what other policies? Those 4 policies that I vetoed. So those policies that I vetoed, they got written 2 weeks ago, and then they're already being passed. But the media department and communication was written 3 or 4 weeks ago. I mean, 3 or 4 months ago, and it's just passing with a bill or a policy that was written just 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Like, let's make this. Let's paint the full picture here. Let's paint the full picture here. At this point, everyone is, what's going on? Why is it taking so long? Why aren't we getting? And he's constantly, oh, you got to be patient. We're gathering evidence. You got to be patient. We got to gathering evidence. But I'm coming to the realization that that so-called evidence to go to the so-called ICJ is out of order. We're supposed to be going to the C-24, not the ICJ, the Pacific Settlement of Disputes. That's for the recognized states of the General Assembly of the United Nations. So if Brazil has a problem with Chile, they have to go through the mediation, arbitration, conciliation, right? The Pacific Settlement of Disputes to settle their disputes. But those who are seeking independence as colonized people seeking to decolonize must go through the C-24 and the United Nations. And or also communicate with other nations to gain recognition from those other nations. So that's what I was trying to link us to Ibrahim Traore and Burkina Faso, since they're the forerunners right now of decolonization. And that's the story. Now continue here with number 12. No, you already did that. Look at this one, number 13. Read that.
Islam number 13, subsection 13, pardon me. Do not be fooled by the defendant's deceptive spin that attempts to place J-Bay as performing unconstitutional acts. Whereas the three branches of government have welcomed Chief Judge J-Bay's intellect and assistance in a multitude of ways. Chief Judge J-Bay has been critical of our emergence as a colonized state. His involvement at the highest levels has and continues to be approved and accepted until such time that the three branches of government give written notice for his involvement to cease.
Again, that was written by the same guy, not Makara. Again, like you said, he's saying it. He's saying it. He's the one who's giving the intellectual assistance to everyone. So he's intellectually assisting Makara in writing this document. But yet it's his argument. We got to see a problem here. Now, in that meeting that he referenced in this document, that I also just mentioned about between Makara, Dre, and him, mediation meeting, I made it clear. It's not about removal. It's about respecting the three branches. I don't care what the other three branches said or not. I'm the Sultan. Because that's not law. That's just them saying, okay, you could do it. We're in a constitution that says that you have the right or the power or the authority to be running back and forth between three branches like a madman. No, it's based in personal allegiance, dependency. Jay Bay can do it all. He can do it because he does it. We don't know what we're doing. Well, go learn something. Figure it out. You know, you're supposed to be competent. Who's going to write the documents? This is the argument. Who's going to write the documents? You. Figure it out. We got to do this together. Now you can be a consultant. See, that's what it was. He was supposed to be a so-called consultant, not the dominating figure here. Which means and I made it clear, the government, the House, and the people should be making the decision on behalf of the state, and the judges are just there, including you, as legal counsel, to make sure that we're doing things in accordance to the law. And rampant doing whatever you want with all three branches. It got to the point where that needed to stop. That needed to be clear. So it became customs and usage amongst them. And I was like, no, sir, no, ma'am. This got to stop. Being retired and just chill at the crib and not do nothing. Everybody's just chilling, not doing nothing. Because Jay Bay gonna do it all. That lends itself to dependency, Stockholm syndrome. So now they're so dependent that they don't want to let go. And now they're allowing this foolishness to take place. Frivolity, patently frivolous, arbitrary, and capricious. This is not a legal argument for anything. Let's go to the removal. Let's go to 15, good brother.
It's long. Subsection 15. Subsection 15, the Sultan has unilaterally invoked emergency powers in relation to conspiracy theories and unsubstantiated allegations against the Chief Judge J. Bay, DeAndre Dre Bay, Prime Minister, and Nova Ilu Executive Chief of Staff, and other elected and appointed officials. Whereas the Sultan has intentionally disregarded any efforts to seek earnest consultation and resolutions in cooperation with the House members. There has been no rulings from the Constitutional Council, High Council, or the Special Court regarding the allegations Alkabir made against elected and appointed officials of the state. The Sultan has become unhinged by unlawfully invoking Article 10 of the Constitution as provided.
Okay, pause right there because we already went over Article 10. So let's examine this particular paragraph. This is why I call it a kangaroo court. You know, the Boondocks show. It's Saturday Night Live parody court. It's frivolity. It's cartoonish. It's ridiculous. It's incompetent. And this is why they've all been removed. The Sultan has unilaterally invoked emergency powers in relation to conspiracy theories and unsubstantiated allegations against the Chief Judge J. Bay, against Jay, Dre, and Monica, and other elected and appointed. No, that's not true. That's not true. It's true about Jay, Dre, and Monica, but not no other appointed or elected officials, and we're going to get to that. Whereas the Sultan has intentionally disregarded any effort to seek earnest consultation and resolution in cooperation. Well, again, this was based on an emergency, invoking emergency powers. We're going to go to what it is. So he's saying that I need to seek consultation and cooperation with the House members, and that there's been no ruling from the Constitutional Council. Of course not. I'm gonna tell you why not. High Council or the Special Court regarding the allegations Alkabir made against elected and appointed officials. Of course not. Why not? Why did the Constitutional Council and the High Council or the High Court or anybody or any other administrative authority, why did they not bring down make a ruling against these so-called allegations? Let's go to those allegations. An affidavit. Affidavit of truth and declaration of constitutional breach. So I alleged something in this document that's not based on a conspiracy theory. The Wazir of Ali Bamu made a statement in the meeting. Is this the Ampak Empire? He's not the first to say it, and he wouldn't have been the last. Everybody questioned, is this the J Bay show or is this the Ampak Empire? Are you saying that everyone is a conspiracy theorist, or are people seeing what's going on? Ampak 2.0 has the chief. Ampak 2.0 has the prime minister. Ampak 2.0 had the executive director and the executive chief of staff, the Sayaraha and the minister of foreign affairs. Additionally, the treasury is with Ampak. The capital address is with Ampak. The entire governmental database is controlled by Ampak. The website controlled by Ampak. Does that sound like a conspiracy, or is this the fact? Somebody say yes or no.
It's the facts.
Okay, so, excuse me, my intentions, thinking that we're all competent here, was that they were going to present themselves at the Constitutional Council to make an argument. What argument? It could have been this argument, fool. This argument. Whatever your argument is. Well, he thinks he's Jesus. He thinks he's God. Okay, make that argument. Where? Where? Where do you make that argument? Therefore, by the powers inherent in my office and my duty to preserve the empire from all threats, both foreign and domestic, I hereby command the Constitutional Council to immediately commence a formal and exhaustive investigation. Summon the named officials, right, to provide sworn testimony before the council. So that could have been your sworn testimony. So you just skip past that and go straight to impeachment. So see, they slithered past the investigation. Recommend. Well, first I say issue a binding ruling on the constitutionality of these actions with all possible speed. In other words, let's not delay here. Let's get it done. The empire got business to do. Recommend to me the full measure of constitutional and disciplinary measures warranted up to and including removal. So it's up to the council. I might want removal, but I may not necessarily get it. And I was expecting for them to give him a slap on the wrist because it's J Bay, it's Noble Drew Ali. So then the resolution would have been, okay, well, fine. Since it's not a conspiracy, or since it's just a conspiracy, or a conspiracy theory, I should say, since I got it all twisted up in my head, how about we just break it all up then? How about we make the capital address AMPAG's capital address, or make AMPAG's address the capital address, because I reside in the AMPAG jurisdiction anyway. Why don't the Treasury go to another state? Why doesn't the Prime Minister step away from being wazir? Why doesn't the Executive Chief of Staff choose one of the Executive Chief of Staff or Executive Director? You got to choose one or the other. Why don't another state, right, internal state control the database? Why don't another state control the website? Let's break it up and spread it out. How about we do that? See, that would have been that was going to be my resolution. I wanted him removed. Now, I'm not doubting that. Oh, I wanted him removed. But I already knew that, cult fellowship. So it's going to be, oh, let's give him a slap on the wrist. Okay, fine, sir. You're not going to remove him. Okay, we got to deal with it. Fine. But at least let's break this thing up. You see, that's where I was going with it. So let's go over the document. So we already read the veto. Let's see how it builds up. I, Abdul Smith Alkabir, by the grace of the Almighty and the will of the people, Sultan of the Empire of Morocco, and the absolute sovereign authority thereof, hereby issue this affidavit of truth in my capacity as the grantor of the Constitution, the independence of the judiciary, and the reign of order and justice throughout our domains. Now, I don't think that I require any sort of consultation or anything like that to issue an affidavit. And by the way, it wouldn't have been issued if I didn't have the evidence to back up my claim, which is why he slithered past the investigation and went straight into impeachment. 1. Primary statement. This affidavit is submitted to bring to the attention of the Constitutional Council, the government, and the House, and all relevant authorities a matter of grave constitutional concern. It pertains to the conduct of certain high officials of the empire, which appears to be in direct contravention to the foundational principles of separation of powers and the rule of law as enshrined in our illustrious Constitution. 2. Constitutional framework on executive authority. The supreme authority of the state is unequivocally vested in me, His Majesty the Sultan Abdul Alkabir. This is affirmed in Article 10 of the Constitution, which states, the Sultan shall preside over the Prime Minister as the absolute sovereign authority in all matters of political, legal, judicial, education, economic, social, and military affairs. This article establishes a clear and irrefutable chain of command and allegiance. All executive, judicial, and governmental authority flows from and is subordinate to the office of the Sultan, period. The actions of all officials must reflect this ultimate allegiance to the sovereign and the constitutional order that I embody and guarantee. 3. Inappropriate allegiance and belligerence of officials. It has been observed that the Prime Minister, Dre Bay, the Judge, J. Jermaine Bay, and Executive Chief of Staff, Noveluel, have engaged in patterns of communication and conduct that suggest the formation of a faction operating with a belligerent and inappropriate personal allegiance that circumvents the sovereign authority of His Majesty the Sultan and therefore the will of the people. Statements such as AMPAC don't play that. But I got text messages and emails about certain things. So if this is merely a conspiracy theory and I got this all wrong, okay, you had 14 days to gather your evidence or whatever you want to do, your counter affidavit, and present this argument to the council, not bypass it and move to impeachment. Because you feel that I needed to consult somebody before even issuing an affidavit? Like he said here, that I didn't see, whereas the Sultan has intentionally disregarded any efforts to seek earnest consultation and resolutions in cooperation with the House members. I didn't have to do all that. I'm seeking that through this affidavit with the Constitutional Council. So I am seeking that with this. What do you? Oh, so basically you're saying I need to go to your friend that you have that has an allegiance to you, Makara, to say, Makara, I'm going to issue an affidavit, and she's going to say no, and I'm supposed to say okay. No, it's consultation. Even if that's the case, it's consultation. It's consultation. Consultation is not permission. She can say no all day, and I can still say okay, well I'm doing it anyway. I'm just letting you know. That's what consultation is. So it's irrelevant. I was going to present this affidavit anyway. It's just an affidavit with allegations. It's all allegations until you're innocent until proven guilty. So now we got to present ourselves to the court. I present my evidence. You present your evidence, and then let the let the battle begin. That's competency. But instead, it's we're not gonna, like you said in one. Empire 2.0. Their coordinated actions detailed below create the perception. It's a perception. It's creating a perception. I need to know what's up. Can we clean this up? Can we fix this? I'm seeking resolution here with this affidavit. It's an allegation. Create the perception of a cabal or parallel power structure that is not only disrespectful to the office of the Sultan, but also fundamentally undermines the constitutional order as defined by Article 10. 4. Constitutional conduct and defiance. Unconstitutional conduct and defiance. Collusion between judicial and executive branches. The Constitution implicitly mandates a separation of powers to ensure checks and balances. Chief Judge J. Bay has been engaged in regular substantive communications within an unofficial group chat that includes the executive chief of staff, myself, and wazirs of the executive branch. This constitutes a clear and unacceptable collusion between the judiciary and the executive, compromising the impartiality and independence of the judicial authority that His Majesty the Sultan is sworn to guarantee per Article 75. So what does Kendon say to me? Well, we've been doing it. What's the problem now? Oh, God, really, brother? You're supposed to be the Sultan? So I'm going to show you right now they're still doing all that. Can we practice separation? I suggested bring the speaker in. So that way all three branches are there and we can now have that balance. They didn't even want to do that. Defiance of a lawful decree, directive. Now listen, upon finally recognizing this unconstitutional practice, because I wasn't even thinking of it that way, because again, he's coming at us with this, consultation, I'm just a consultant. The AG was like, Sultan, you know that this is very unconstitutional for you guys to have this group chat like that. I'm like, oh wow. Okay, well I'll deal with it. And so upon finally recognizing this unconstitutional practice, I issued a formal call for these officials to cease and desist all such communications. Despite this, the communications have persisted between the judge and prime minister. Furthermore, the prime minister expressed to me in the Wazir Council meeting dated September 28, 2025, that they will continue communication in the group chat and to date boldly has done so. This continued defiance demonstrates a willful disregard for Article 10 of the Constitution and amounts to an act of insubordination against the constitutional order presided over by His Sharif Your Majesty. What you're supposed to do is say, well, you know what, the Sultan is right. We need to probably seize this, or let's talk about it. Let's discuss this. No, it's we're gonna do it anyway. And after I made that call, Mr. Diaz, continued posting things purposefully. And this is where I first learned about all those funny, not gonna say funny, but all those research definitions and understandings of the word or the name Alkabir. It was a huge, big, long text message in which he was breaking down Alkabir. And then I didn't respond because I've already said what I said. I can show this in text message. You'll never see a response to anything. I just let him keep doing what he's doing. So he comes back again with another one talking about I'm a tyrant, and it was a huge long one, and it was several. And it's like, wow, you're just gonna keep doing this, huh? Just because you're Jay Bay. See, the arrogance in his ego is his major downfall. Man, this man is something else. So what you want me to do? Sit back and just allow this to go? Because it's a slippery slope. At what point do we put an end to this? Keeping in mind, I already know that we're dealing with cult fellowship. That was a difficult part about settling and dealing with this matter. Everyone, 90% of them went that way. Not everyone, because Maru stayed. But the three people who were in this fight, on the front lines of it, was myself, the AG, and the Prime Minister Akil. And then you had others who came along and offered the support. But it was us three going at it with them. And all three branches of all 5 internal states said, we're going to protect Jay. He doesn't have to do an investigation. No investigation for him. We're going to just go ahead and impeach this man. Unauthorized dissemination of confidential information. Further compounding this violation, Prime Minister Drebe improperly shared a private recording to the same Wazir Council meeting with Chief Judge J. Jermaine Bey. The Chief Judge then compounded this breach by disseminating the confidential recording to 3 of the 5 judges. This is where he says that I'm implicating other people. Excuse me. This act violates the confidentiality of governmental deliberations, represents a gross abuse of power by both the Prime Minister and the Chief Judge, seeks to improperly influence the judiciary by exposing it to privileged executive deliberations. Okay? Complicity of the judiciary. The other judges, now pay attention, the other judges who were privy to this confidential recording and failed to report this profound breach of protocol are implicated in this misconduct. Their silence amounts to acquiescence and compromises the integrity of the entire judicial institution. Therefore, these judges must recuse themselves from taking part in any proceedings dealing with this matter, as they themselves may come under investigation. Meaning that, first of all, who am I talking about? You can't tell, because no one names was. I didn't mention any of those judges' names because I wasn't trying to implicate them. I could have easily put their names in there. This was strictly about AMPAC 2.0, which is Jay, Dre, and Monica. That's AMPAC 2.0. Period. Their name is specific on this affidavit. The only 3 names. So what do you mean, sir, that I'm implicating all these people? Right? Appoint another and other elected and appointed officials. It's you. It's your crew. That's it. They jumped out there in your protection, and now they've been exposed. But initially, I didn't want to bother Isaac or Dominique. I asked the consul general to don't do nothing to them. Just a slap on the wrist. Just don't even do nothing to them. It's not about them. I just want them to learn a lesson from this. Like, we can't be doing that. That's it. And it turns into, oh, I'm implicating them and all this. It's number 5, specific acts of sedition and threats by the executive chief of staff. Further to the general patterns of misconduct, I must bring to the council's attention specific. Now, I'm talking to the council. I'm talking to the government. I'm talking to the administrative authority of the empire. I'm not just, you're removed, arbitrarily invoking powers and all this stuff that he's saying. Let's set the record straight. I'm talking to the council and any other administrative authority of the empire, the house, anybody that needs to listen to this and adhere to this investigation to determine what is it and what is it not. Am I right or am I wrong? If I'm wrong, okay, my bad, I apologize, but we still have some funny business going on. Let's break it up. No, it did not. We didn't even get down that path. We just disregarded this Sultan's authority. We just disregarded his affidavit. We just disregarded his investigation, and we're just going to impeach him. A specific act of sedition and threats by the executive chief of staff. Further to the general patterns of misconduct, I must bring to the council's attention specific documented acts by the executive chief of staff, Novi Luel, that constitutes direct sedition, threats, and a fundamental breach of her oath of office. Usurpation of sovereign authority. During a recorded meeting of the Wazir Council on the 28th day of June 2025, you see how it's building up from the veto? Same language in the veto. Now I'm making it illegal. Now I'm making it legal. the individual, Monica, made the statement, AMPAC don't play that. This statement, in its context and delivery, clearly implies that the state of AMPAC holds a position of authority or sovereignty over the policies and operations of the Empire of Morocco and its government. This is a profound and seditious act, and it is. Okay, so what I thought she was going to do, go before the council and make an argument. I don't know why I said that. That's my bad. I spoke out of turn. I was upset. The Sultan didn't write his letters because that's what she was complaining about. And my bad. I spoke out of turn. Something? No, we're just gonna impeach him. We're not even gonna answer to this. We're AMPAC 2.0. We're the beacons of light. We wrote the Constitution and we're doing this, and we are the first to emerge the Sultan. So therefore, we don't come under any questions. But yet, this is the third time that he has come under investigations within 2 years. With AMPAC 1.0 and now the Empire. Twice with AMPAC 1.0. Again, it became AMPAC 2.0 because they performed the coup d'etat already on AMPAC 1.0, which then made them AMPAC 2.0. You see, that's the reason why I'm using that language. Continuing on, this is a profound and seditious act, as it explicitly denies the absolute sovereign authority of the Sultan as mandated by Article 10 of the Constitution. Suggests allegiance to AMPAC as a shadow government rather than the empire's sovereign authority. Attempts to intimidate government officials by invoking a foreign power. If I'm wrong, okay, bring your evidence. You have 14 days. The consul general had already spoke to the speaker and called for 14 days to silence everyone, put the government on hold for 14 days as we go through this investigation. You have 14 days to gather your evidence. All this stuff that you said here, that you wasted your time here with, you could have brought all that to the Constitutional Council, but you didn't. Instead, you said, nope, I'm J-Bay. I don't get investigated. I'm Article 80, Section 2. I'm not to be investigated. See, he's behaving as if he thinks he's the Sultan because he's not to be investigated. The Sultan is who's not supposed to be investigated. So you flip the investigations from you to me. You say, nope, I'm taking Article 80 and you're going to be just a regular guy. I'm going to impeach you. I'm going to crush you. That's how he talks. He likes to crush people. This is what he says about the Grand Sheiks. I'll crush all you Grand Sheiks. Yeah, okay. Unpatriotic threats and personal allegiance. On the 29th day of June 2025, following the aforementioned meeting, the same official, Nove Luel, engaged in a text message communication with a government official. Within this exchange, she made the following statements, which I hereby enter into the record. I got the text message evidence. I am giving him one last chance to do right by Jay. This statement reveals that her primary loyalty is not to the Sultan or the Constitution, but to a personal allegiance with Chief Judge J. Jermaine Bey. It demonstrates that her official actions are guided by a desire to serve this personal faction. Making her unfit for the high office of Executive Chief of Staff. If I'm wrong about that, Monica, present your argument to the Constitutional Council. One of whatever administrative authority that we were going to use, because the Constitutional Council did not exist yet. It was supposed to be the judges as placeholders until we're able to establish the Constitutional Council. But 3 of the judges were, like I just said, 2 of the judges had to recuse themselves. So that would leave 3 other judges. So we still had an administrative authority that could have heard the case. What else did she say? You about to get that ass spanked. So she said, this is an unambiguous and vulgar threat directed at His Majesty the Sultan. Such behavior is unbecoming of any public servant, let alone one of the most senior officials in the executive branch. It creates an environment of intimidation and fear, undermining the orderly and lawful administration of the government. Last bullet point. The Sultan said some shit on a recorded line. This statement reveals 2 potential high crimes. First, it suggests the existence of a recorded conversation with me and without my prior knowledge or consent, which would be a gross violation of privacy and state security. Second, her casual and disrespectful tone in referencing the sovereign is an unpatriotic act and demonstrates a profound lack of respect for the office of the Sultan. If I'm wrong about that, okay, present yourself at the Constitutional Council and say, you got that wrong, you misunderstood, whatever your argument is, ma'am. Not, oh no, we're just going to impeach him and we're going to excommunicate him. We're going to block him from the website and we're going to block him from from accessing the government database. That is the treason and sedition that I'm calling out in the affidavit. So your subsequent actions after the affidavit proves double downs, triple downs, quadruple downs on the allegation that you claim is a conspiracy theory. That makes sense. The actions of Monica, as evidenced in her own words, go beyond mere misconduct. They represent a deliberate pattern of seditious speech, the making of threats, which we already know this is a pattern of behavior, making of threats and all this foolishness, and the establishment of personal allegiance that directly undermine the sovereignty and constitutional order of the Empire of Morocco. Her continued presence in a position of authority constitutes a clear and present danger to the security of the state and the dignity of the people. Conclusion and petition. The actions detailed herein by said government officials are a clear and present danger to the stability and integrity of the Empire of Morocco and are inconsistent with their oath of office and their constitutional duty of undivided allegiance to the sovereign authority of His Majesty the Sultan, as mandated by Article 10. Their conduct establishes a pattern of defiance, collusion, and breach of confidentiality that strikes at the very heart of our constitutional democracy. Therefore, by the powers inherent in my office and my duty to preserve the empire from all threats, both foreign and domestic, I hereby command the Constitutional Council to immediately commence a formal and exhaustive investigation into these allegations. Let's do an If I'm wrong, okay, this is what the investigation is about. If I'm wrong, I'll course correct. My bad. I apologize. I saw something wrong here. This evidence that I have, it's just, I don't know where it comes from. It must not be good, but I got the evidence, right? Whatever you want to say, but at least participate through the process. You don't just circumvent it, slither past it, sabotage it because you're not to be questioned. We're not going to play those games. We're not going to play those games. Suspend these officials pending the conclusion of this investigation. That's normal. If you work at Burger King and you're on an investigation, you get a leave of absence, you're suspended until the investigation has been concluded and you are found innocent and say, okay, my bad, come back to work, or you're fired. I don't know what world they live in, but that's normal. No one was being removed. They were being suspended. Issue a binding ruling on the constitutionality of these actions with all possible speed. Recommend to me the full measure of constitutional and disciplinary measures warranted up to and including removal from office and criminal prosecution to cleanse our government of this corruption and restore the constitutional order. So I'm going for the max. But what's the minimum? Okay, well, we see it, Sultan, but they write all the documents. We got to take it easy on them. Can we find another resolution? Okay, well, let's talk about it. What's the resolution? Okay, the resolution is break it up. Because otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to just excommunicate me and block me from having access to the governmental database, or the prime minister, the vice prime minister, Akil at the time, or the consul general at the time. All three of us were blocked, excommunicated. This isn't government. A Moroccan judge of the empire must be impartial, honest, upright, and honorable, and J. Jermaine Bey fails at these necessary attributes, period. This was October 1st. So now let's go to his recusal letter. October 1st. So this is his letter where he recused himself from the case because of personal dealings with me and all this, whatever. But that's irrelevant. What I want to focus on is what happened, what they do. What did they do? So I'll submit the affidavit on the 1st. I'm writing this official letter to acknowledge that on October 2nd and 3rd of 2025, the Wazir Council and the Sayaraha Council passed a vote of no confidence regarding the Sultan Abdul Smith Alkabir. That fast? That fast? Where's the due process? Was there any kind of at least I suspended you and gave you 14 days of investigation? Right? Give you an opportunity to gather your evidence and come before the council? Me, you just say, oh, nah, man, we're Because my question now is these so-called removed wazirs and sayarahs, what evidence, what did you go off of when you made your vote? Where's the evidence? Where's the investigation to prove his claim? Or are you just going based on his word? You see, do y'all see what's going on here? No investigation. They're just going on his word. But we got to remove him because he thinks he's Allah. He's just removing folks and whatever other foolishness he spin at them that caused them to say, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. That's exactly what they did. What else happened? What did he say? The Sultan has conducted a scheme to spread false narratives about my impartiality in relations to the government. Okay, if you think that's a false narrative, okay, let's go back to the affidavit. Summon the named officials to provide sworn testimony before the council. So you should have came to with your argument. Why didn't you come with your argument to the council about the false narrative? Instead, you say, no, we're just gonna do what? Vote him out with a no confidence vote from the House and the council, in the Wazir Council. Really? That's what we do? Then what else happened? Additionally, the private member bill dated October 3rd. So the bill was already written, written and ready to go by October 3rd to formally recognize Dre as the interim sultan. Still no due process, no investigation, nothing, no hearing, nothing. This is on what day? The 4th, October 4th. Then on October 5th, they sent this to me. On October 5th. This is when they sent it to me. So they did all their little funny business between the 1st and the 3rd, and then on the 5th, they sent me this whatever court thing. This Saturday Night Live court thing. Keeping in mind that before I received this document at 5 o'clock or so, this document was received around close to midnight. They had a hearing, a private, secret hearing around 5 o'clock. And then had the court proceeding at around, 11 o'clock or something. And then sent me this document. They then sent me another one to say revised because I'm suspended. So now I'm suspended. I mean, this is just. So you can suspend me, but I can't suspend you. This is sedition, man. This is a judge in cooperation with other members of that group, AMPAC 2.0, and the other 3 branches of government. Complicity, collusion, aiding and abetting. So when they talk about removal, okay, so I have this state of emergency here. I know we're running out of time. I don't know if we could read it all. Like right here, effective immediately, I am invoking Article 18 and declaring a state of emergency. This is when I invoked it, October 4th. Why did I invoke it? Because what happened? This is the Prime Minister's affidavit of truth, administrative usurpation and obstruction of sovereign authority in the Moorish Empire. And this is where he's talking about the fact that we were blocked from the database. Okay, so now let's go to the Constitution itself. Let's go to Article 18. Now, let me tell you why I call the state of emergency. Let me scroll up really quickly here. Okay, right here. Article 18, Section 1, where the institutions of the government, the independence of the empire, the integrity of its territory, or the fulfillment of its international commitments are under serious and immediate threat, and where the proper functioning of the government of the constitutional public authorities is interrupted. It was interrupted when you blocked me from accessing the website, blocked me from accessing the database, blocked the Consul General from accessing the PO committee stuff, database. Excommunicate me, keeping the people from being able to speak with me. It falls all under that threat. His Majesty the Sultan shall take measures required by the circumstances after formally consulting the Prime Minister, the Speaker of the House, and the Constitutional Council. So if you want to say that I did not seek consultation, you're a bold-faced lie. You know why that's a bold-faced lie? Because the reason why, and the way that the Prime Minister and I found out that we were blocked from the database was because I asked the Prime Minister to call for a meeting with the entire government, minus those from AMPAC 2.0. And he wasn't able to access the database. That's when we found that out. But previous to that, I called the speaker to get her consultation. She did not answer my phone call and did not return my call. And the Attorney General corresponded with her regarding that, and she didn't even respond as to why she did not answer my phone call. What conversations did you have with Jay Bay? Were you trying to set me up, Makara, why you didn't answer my call? But guess what I did, y'all? I said, okay, no worries. Interim Prime Minister was a kill, because remember, Dre is under an investigation. He was the Prime Minister, but you're under suspension. So who's the next in line? The Vice Prime Minister. So I made him the interim Vice Prime Minister. I appointed him as the interim so that I can seek counsel from him, because I can't do nothing with Dre because A, he's suspended, and it wouldn't matter anyway because he was the AMPAC 2.0 Prime Minister. That's part of the seditious activity in the first place. So I said, Interim Prime, could you please call for a meeting for everyone except for those being called out, those that I'm addressing in the affidavit. So we did. Who was part of it? All three branches, including who? The Prime Minister, because Akil was there as the interim Prime Minister. The Speaker of the House, she made it to that meeting, even though she didn't answer my phone call. She was in that meeting. All the House members, all the wazirs, and the Constitutional Council, which would be the judge. And I gave him a briefing as to why I'm calling for a state of emergency. I didn't just consult the speaker. I didn't just consult the prime. I consulted the whole government. I briefed the whole government. And in that briefing, what did it become? Oh, we can't do J Bay like that. Amir Hassan El, the removed Wazir of New Mecca. Who's gonna write the documents though? Watson Ali, excuse me, but this is inappropriate, Sultan. You know, this is a hearing and the people aren't here. The point of it, the people that's being in here, bro, this is not a hearing, it's a briefing. I spoke to him about that and he ended up saying, yeah, I guess I spoke out of turn. Well, why didn't you speak out of turn on June 28th when Jay Bay was speaking out of turn, saying all these disrespectful things? Why you didn't come off mute and say, excuse me, Jay, what you're saying is inappropriate to the Sultan? That briefing became a J Bay defense briefing. No one was asking me, well, where do you drawing this conclusion? Why is it a state of emergency? Where do you see sedition in the constitutional crisis? I see your affidavit. What is your, this is what this discussion was supposed to be about. But I'm not dealing with competent officials. Instead, it's a J Bay defense party. Oh, J Bay, he wrote all the documents. J Bay, we can't J Bay. This is what it all came down to. So I just shut the meeting down. Like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. I see what's going on here. So then what happens? Again, I'll point it out. This was on the 2nd. So while I was having that meeting on the 2nd, they already had voted between the 2nd and the 3rd to impeach me. No confidence to impeach me. This is what happened. And then on the 3rd, they already passed the bill for Dre to be the interim sultan. That's fast. An impeachment of a head of state is even worse. A sultan is a lengthy process. That should take some time because you got to do some checking. You got to do some investigation. But again, there's no high crimes or treason or bribery. So you can't even bring a case against me. So how does case end up being brought up against me? Because Jay Bay said so, and everyone say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, Jay. Yeah, that makes sense. Whatever you say, that makes sense. this is what you're seeing. Everything was between really the 1st and the 5th. So they had this unconstitutional, right, court hearing, and then what did I do? So you want to talk about removal? Okay, let's talk about removal. I have I submitted, where is it? Okay, failed coup attempt. Let me see, Sultan's proclamation. Thought I had it already pulled up. This right here. What's the date? It's at the bottom. The 6th. It wasn't until the 6th, but his argument was made on the 5th. It wasn't until the 6th. Somebody read this for me, please. Can I get a matriarch to read? The People's Proclamation of Nullification and Judicial Restoration. Somebody please read this.
Okay. The People's Proclamation of Nullification and Judicial Restoration by His Sharifian Majesty Abdul Smith Alkabir, Sovereign of the Sharifian Empire. To the government, the judiciary, the peoples of the empire. Whereas the Constitution of the Empire of Morocco, in its supreme wisdom, established in Article 75.1, that His Majesty, the Sultan, shall be the grantor of the independence of the Moorish judicial authority. And whereas, by virtue of the supreme sovereign authority vested in our person by the Constitution of the Empire of Morocco, specifically under Article 10, and further empowered by the declaration of a state of emergency under Article 18, to confront a seditious conspiracy, we act as the ultimate grantor of the constitutional order. And
Hold that thought.
whereas,
Pause right there. Hold on one second. I got to point something out because in here I talked about this, the declaration of a state of emergency. Okay, let me show y'all. Please be patient with me. We're going to be going back and forth here. Let me show you to you all. Right here. Effective immediately, I am invoking Article 18 and declaring a state of emergency. This is not an attack on our democracy. Rather, it is a surgery to remove a poisonous cancer from it, with the understanding that I may exercise these emergency powers only for the good of the people. Sweeping powers. Let me go here real quick. Real quick. State of emergency is a situation in which a government is empowered to put through policies that it would normally not be permitted to do so for the safety and protections of its citizen. A government can declare such a state before, during, or after a natural disaster, civil unrest, armed conflict, medical pandemic, or epidemic, or other biosecurity risk. Civil unrest. The state of emergency. Under a state of emergency, you have sweeping powers to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do under normal circumstances. He didn't think that I knew how to enforce the Constitution and I knew how this thing worked. Okay, so in a state of emergency, under this authority, I will take the following measures to restore constitutional order. Look at what I asked for. Not even removal. This is a state of emergency. Under that circumstance, I could have done way worse than what I did right here. Number one, the suspended officials, the Prime Minister, the Chief Judge, and Executive Chief of Staff of AMPAC 2.0 faction are hereby required to answer up to the allegations laid out in my affidavit. Stop running and masterminding. Answer the questions before the judges, the government, and the people. Your due process is recognized and in full effect. Prove your innocence. What else can I ask for? Still not removing anyone. All right, continue, sister. Continue.
all right. And I believe we started as sacred duty, right? Is that where we left off? Okay, right there. Gotcha. And whereas by virtue of the supreme sovereign authority vested in our person by the Constitution of the Empire of Morocco, specifically under Article 10, and further empowered by the declaration of a state of emergency. Okay, yeah, we
Yeah,
started.
I didn't hear you at all because I don't know what happened to your phone. Could you please start over? We didn't hear
Oh,
we didn't
it's
hear it at
Bob.
all.
It's Bob. Where I started, or
Yes, and whereas from therefore,
okay. And whereas by virtue of the supreme sovereign authority vested in our person by the Constitution of the Empire of Morocco, specifically under Article 10, and further empowered by the declaration of a state of emergency under Article 18, to confront a seditious conspiracy. We act as the ultimate grantor of the constitutional order. And whereas this sacred duty charges us with the solemn responsibility to protect the judiciary from all corruption, coercion, and subversion, whether from external forces or, as now, from a poisonous cancer within its own ranks. And whereas a seditious conspiracy led by the suspended Chief Judge J. Germain.
your connection is bad.
Okay, I'll start all over. You hear me now?
Your connection is really bad.
Mm, plug
I'll
that.
read it. I'll read it because it's like you're going out and you're going out for a long time.
I am okay. Is that
Yeah,
better?
yeah, but it keeps going in and out. I'll take care of
Her
it.
connection good on my end, Sultan.
Huh. Okay. Well, continue then. Maybe it's just my end. Okay, continue.
It's not. And whereas a seditious conspiracy led by the suspended Chief Judge J. Germain Bey and his Confederates has utterly corrupted the judiciary process, rendering it a weapon of personal ambition and political coup, coup,
Coop, like coup d'etat. Coop.
of course, Islam, coup, thereby annihilating its independence and integrity. And whereas in defiance of our repeated directives, in defiance of our repeated directives and the principles of due process, this faction has convened a fraudulent proceeding before a so-called interim chief judge, Isaac Bey, in the direct and treasonous assault upon the office of the Sultan in violation of Article 81. Let it be known.
Let's remind everyone. Article 81.
Article.
No. Article 81. Let's remind everyone of the Constitution. His Majesty the Sultan should not be removed from office during the term of thereof on any grounds or other than treason, bribery, or other high crimes. You're not proving high crimes here. When you say that I think I'm Allah, you're not proving high crimes. When you say that I'm removing folks and it's not true, you're not proving high crimes. It's a bold-faced lie. Everything that you're saying within that patently frivolous, arbitrary, and capricious so-called kangaroo court document. Period. Continue, sister. Let's go back.
All right. Let it be known that this proceeding stands as the ultimate proof of judicial collusion and the complete
Abdication.
of constitutional order, Islam. The
Farcical.
the farcical nature, farcical, the farcical nature of this proceeding is bland, is blatant, is blunt, is blatant disregard for legal procedure, its reliance on pre-written documents authored by the suspended J. Germain Bey, and its malicious misinterpretation of the constitutional term high crimes, demonstrates an incompetence and bad faith that is patently incompatible with the holding of judicial office. An independent judiciary cannot exist when its chiefs are conspirators, and a grantor cannot be silent while the institution he is sworn to protect is destroyed by its own guardians. Therefore, in solemn fulfillment of our constitutional oath under Article 75 to guarantee an independent judiciary, we hereby proclaim: 1, the fraudulent proceeding and its findings are declared null, void, and of no legal effect ab initio. It is expunged from the record, and if it is never, and as if it never existed. 2, Isaac Bey Mahdi L is hereby removed and permanently barred from any judiciary or public office for his central role in this judiciary charade. A kangaroo court,
Judicial charade.
judicial charade. A kangaroo court which has brought the entire judiciary authority into disrupt. 3,
That's disrepute.
disrepute.
Mm.
3, J. Tremaine Bay is hereby stripped of all titles, privileges, and immunity. His authorship of the fraudulent proceedings documents provides irrefutable proof of his ongoing sedition and his fundamental betrayal of the judiciary. He is to be held for criminal prosecution. 4, any judge or judicial official who participated in or endorsed this unlawful act is hereby suspended and will face immediate investigation for their complicity in the destruction of judicial independence. This is not an act against the judiciary, but an act for the judiciary. We are exercising the corrupt, we are exercising the corrupt,
Excising.
we are excising Islam. Apologies. We are excising the corrupt to save the honorable. We will now appoint judges of proven integrity who understand that true judicial independence flows from fidelity to the Constitution, not from collusion with seditious factions. The Moorish judicial authority shall be restored to its rightful role as a pillar of our republic, independent, impartial, and free from the corruption of traitors. So decreed by the Sultan, grantor of the judicial authority. So decreed by the Sultan, grantor of the judicial authority. Long live the Moorish Empire and His Majesty the Sultan, Abdul Smith Alkabir, given under our hand and seal of our office. Abdul Smith Alkabir, Islam.
Thank you, sister. That's good. Our given under our hand and the seal of our office. That ain't my seal, and it's certainly not Camden's seal. He's Ampac 2.0 Sultan. Congratulations, good brother. You have no authority over there with J Bay and them. You preside means you just a fly on the wall. Just keep that in mind. But this seal right here belongs to the people. Okay? So we ain't gonna be playing these games about taking the seal and all this funny business. I mean, you could do it, but it doesn't hold any water. Now, this is when I finally removed and suspended and stripped these two judges, meaning that this proceeding now and henceforth is null, void, and of no legal effect. Ab initio, it is expunged from the record as if it never existed. This is a kangaroo court. It's foolishness. It's frivolity. It's patently frivolous, arbitrary, and capricious. You're violating the Constitution. You're violating Article 80, Section 2. You're violating Article 81. You're violating Article 75. Undue influence. I mean, there's so many charges. It's overwhelming. Which means, and keep in mind, he was suspended when he wrote all these documents for Makara. Again, he wrote it for Makara because, to his point, they can't write their own documents and they need help. I mean, this is what he said. They need help. So he wrote the document, and until they say we don't need you anymore, you will continue to do it because I said so. Again, he wrote this. He wrote this entire judicial proceeding. And this is what Amir Hassan El, the incompetent, removed wazir of New Mecca, that's why he said, well, who's going to write the documents? Well, these judicial documents ain't necessary for decolonization because you're not supposed to be going to the ICJ anyway. You're supposed to put together a dossier for the C-24, a package to apply for the C-24 regarding recognizing this territory as non-self-governing. That ain't got nothing to do with judicial anything. These are procedures that any of us can do if we put our heads together. Keep in mind, he's coming straight from mergers and acquisitions into being a judge. Last I heard, before you even become an attorney, you got to spend 8 years in school. And damn near a whole lifetime as being a practicing attorney before you even sniff at a judge's chamber. So you just go straight from heating and air conditioning to brain surgery. You go directly from being a real estate agent. Oh, I don't want to do that no more. I'm now an engineer, and you're building big bridges now. You don't even. This is all copy paste plug and play stuff. But that's irrelevant. The point being is that the dependency. I did not remove anyone until at least them until this point. Now, who else? Dre. When did I remove? As an example, because they saying that I removed Dre. Look at the date. So they saying so on the 5th, he's saying that I'm just out here removing folks. Where is it at? Right here, right? He said that where is it at? Removal, right? Right here. Abuse of power and the violation of, and I'm just removing I removed Dre and where is it at that I removed? Where is it at? I can't. It doesn't even matter. But we read it already. He said that I removed the prime minister, meaning that I violated at the top here. He said I violated Article 7. Article 7, and I'm just removing folks. Well, again, I didn't remove him until October 8th. 3 days after what he said. Sultan decree of removal and administrative seizure. By order of His Majesty the Sultan, I ain't gonna read all that. Let's go straight to the meat. Subject, immediate removal from office for sedition, declaration of state of emergency and impact, and notice of international documentation. Let this decree serve as a formal notice to all foreign powers, international organizations, and the people of the empire that this action is taken in full fulfillment of our solemn duty to preserve the peace, integrity, and sovereignty of the Moorish Empire. We act pursuant to the supreme authority vested in our person by the Constitution of the Empire of Morocco, specifically Article 10, and the state of emergency declared under Article 18. Moreover, we are acting to reestablish public order and the reign of law in direct accordance with our rights and obligations under international law, specifically the General Act of Algeciras Conference of 1906, inspired by the principles enshrined in the preamble of the said act, which recognizes the interest attached to the reign of order, peace, and prosperity in Morocco, and is based upon the triple principles of the sovereign independence of His Majesty the Sultan, the integrity of his domain, and economic liberty without any inequality. We now move to secure our domains from internal subversion. Wazir DeAndre Drape, you are hereby formally notified of your immediate and permanent removal from the office of Wazir of Ampac, effective upon your receipt of this document. This action is necessitated by uncontrovertible evidence of your complicity in the seditious conspiracy orchestrated by the AMPAC 2.0 faction and your subsequent actions to aid, cover, and protect its leader, J. Jermaine Bey. Your conduct represents a fundamental betrayal of your oath of office, the Constitution, and the trust of the Moroccan people. The specific grounds of your removal are your complicity in the coup attempt and your provision of aid and comfort to a seditious entity seeking to subvert the lawful government of the Sharifian Empire and the authority of its Moxen. For these reasons, by the power vested in us, we hereby declare the internal state of AMPAC to be under a full state of emergency and administrative seizure, effective immediately. All authority, privileges, and access associated with your office are revoked. You are ordered to surrender all state property, documents, and access codes, etc., to the Attorney General, Kanye Shobe, for further investigation into the complicity of other government officials. You are barred for life from holding any future office within the government of the Empire of Morocco. All officials within the internal state of AMPAC are hereby placed under official investigation, with the exception of the AG the exception of AG Kanye Shobe for potential complicity or negligence. Their continued service is contingent upon their immediate and public pledge of allegiance to the Empire of Morocco and its constitution. This decree is final. Resistance to this order will be considered a further act of sedition. The events that demanded this action, including your treason in this administrative seizure, will be formally documented and transmitted to the United Nations, the United States of America, and all relevant members of the international community as a matter of official record. We are reasserting the reign of order and the sovereign integrity of our domains. The people of Ampag will be returned to security and lawful governance under the protection of the Empire of Morocco, so decreed by the Sultan under the Constitution and General Act of Algeciras. Long live the Moorish Empire and His Majesty the Sultan. That was not until October 8th. Why? State of emergency. Why? Because of the ongoing activity of sedition and treason. I hate to say that it's 10 o'clock, so I got to start to close out. So I got to give some time for some dialogue or questions, comments, or concerns. I think I've covered enough to prove the point. Everything is contingent upon these dates. From the first of me issuing, or really from the 29th, when I issued this veto, which became an affidavit on the 1st of October, right? And then, so after that, by the 2nd and 3rd, they had already voted to impeach me. And, can't forget this part, and drafted a private member bill. That was already drafted. Speedy Gonzalez. That was quick, fast, and in a hurry. On October 3rd, to recognize Dre as the interim sultan as they go through this whole, and look what it says, during the declared state of emergency. Okay, so now let's examine that real quick. So they declared a state of emergency. Let's look at that now. They declared a state of emergency. But if we were to go back to Article 18, this is just, wow. If we go back to Article 18, who is the only one that can invoke Article 18 to call for a state of emergency? What does this say right here? His Sharifian Majesty. Not J Bay. Through Makara. So J Bay, through Makara, did what? Declared a state of emergency. But then you want to tell me about me declaring a state. You guys see what's going on here? So you get to disregard my investigation and call a state of emergency and just remove me, or start the proceedings to remove me without any due process, without any investigation, while violating the Constitution, Article 80, Section 1. Article 75, which is the independence of the judiciary, because it's used writing up all these documents. This is what we're seeing with AMPAC 2.0. The Attorney General is going to do a more concise breakdown of the entire court case between the 5th and the 26th. Every document that they sent, I forwarded over to him. It's an ongoing investigation. But the evidence is in the documents. It's in the so-called judicial kangaroo court buckwheat documents. See, this is Saturday Night Live. This is Barney and Friends. This is Sesame Street, and they're all puppets. See, he's the puppet master. See, he's the man behind the scenes. You see, he is the director and producer, the writer, the script writer, right? And then he hands the script over to his followers, his actors and actresses, his placeholders to play the role, to play the part. And what do we say? What do we do? Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. I myself have been guilty of it. Me reading the Declaration of Independence, that was penned by him. That was my script. You see? And I read it. Now, it's a different subject because we're talking about the independence of the people. But you ain't gonna get me to do none of this against somebody. And I can see that you're wrong. That ain't happening, Captain. But I guess that's why I'm the Sultan and the rest of them are who they are. And I guess that's why many of you chose to come to the truth and the justice part of the what? The five principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You came to the truth and the justice, which is the side of the empire, the jure, official Empire of Morocco, Moorish Empire, Moroccan Empire, Sharifian Empire, under the de jure and legitimate leadership of Abdul Smith Alkabir as the Sultan. Anything else from that is AMPAC 2.0 and its affiliates. That's AMPAC 2.0, DIMT 2.0, aka Moorish Gov, dimty.gov.2025, AMPAG 2.0, New Mecca 2.0, ISR 2.0. That's the 2.0 club. That's the 2.0 terrorist organization faction that's attached to AMPAC 2.0 and Jermaine Diaz Spencer. I yield for any questions, comments, or concerns before we close out.
Greetings, Sultan. My name is Damian Lamar L. I spoke to you earlier. The question that I had, when you removed the brothers from and the sister, you said you removed them from government. Did you do that as like under the powers during the state of emergency, or was it as so listed in the Constitution?
Under the powers of the sweeping powers afforded to me under a state of emergency. And that's what I was explaining under a state of emergency. Like, there was consultation nonetheless. It's just that it wasn't the people that they wanted me to consult because those people were under investigation or suspension or removal. So again, the prime minister, so-called prime minister Dre Bay, was under suspension. So I had to appoint the vice prime minister as the interim prime minister, sought counsel from him as an example, right? But then, like I said, I gave a brief the entire government, and they all basically told me to go sit down somewhere because nothing is happening in J Bay. So this is the reason why I invoked the state of emergency. And what did I call for? I still didn't remove anyone. I'm asking for you to go before the council and prove your case. And
Um,
instead, what did he do? Go ahead.
my next
Go ahead.
question, if all members during a state of emergency can sit, and they in this it lays out that members, national committees cannot be dissolved, members cannot be removed, basically. So under the state of emergency, the chief judge was removed, and I understand what you're saying in regards to you know, like reinstating order, you know what I'm saying, from the bureaucracy. I just think that I could understand how, you know, and this is a new government, like all AMPAC. And I remember when I was reading the treaties from George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco in old time, he was saying like in our infancy, we've changed our government several times. So like this could be considered as like a growing pain and like, you know, the empire. I don't think it has to be something like if we can call these brothers and get all of them on the phone, like we need to all sit down or something. I think this is really what like, and then it highlights also something the prophet said, you know, I'm going to leave the European here long enough to teach you how to govern, because we see the Democrats and we see the Republicans. We know these people are corrupt and they know they're corrupt. But when it comes to the halls of power in this corporation, they don't remove, they can be impeached. But like to really remove in this country or this corporation, if you would, to really remove sitting members like the president or Congress members like that, like chief judges of the Supreme Court. You know what I'm saying? Like these things could be taken as like sweeping measures, like despotic people would think. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's consolidating power, you know, removing opposition. You know what I'm saying? So I think if it's not that, and if it's not you consolidating power and removing opposition, you know what I'm saying, maybe we should, you know, try to be diplomatic with each other as we grow, because the only people that can defeat us is us. That's all I had to say. Islam.
Okay. Diplomatic is this right here, October 1st. October 1st, summon the named officials to provide sworn testimony before the council. That's diplomacy. What else is diplomacy? State of emergency. Um, at this point, I'm invoking Article 18, state of emergency. Under this authority, I will take the following measures. Now, under a state of emergency, now, when you say the judges of the Supreme Court, let a judge of the Supreme Court be commingling with the legislative branch and see what happens to them, etc. Let a judge, a chief judge of the Supreme Court, try to overthrow the president and see what happens. So even you talk about diplomacy, okay, here's your diplomacy. Under the state of emergency, I'm still not removing anyone. I'm saying come to the council and prove your case. Stop running. Prove your innocence. What do? I just pointed it out, sir. October 1st, October 2nd to the 3rd, they've already voted to impeach me without, and that's absent of due process. Keeping in mind, I gave them due process, so you don't give me none. You just suspend me. You just go straight for voting a vote of no confidence to impeach me. And on the 3rd, you already got a private member bill ready to have a interim sultan. This is premeditated. I was already the consul general had already made the point. Shortly after my public inauguration, it was said that I will not be the sultan for much longer. I will be removed and replaced. Shortly after the public inauguration, this was premeditated. This was part of a grand scheme. So when you talk about diplomacy, the time for that has already passed. It was on the 1st, and then it came again on the 4th. And what did they do? Move forward to impeach me. Period. So that time has passed. All that diplomacy they have proven over a period of a whole month. Keep in mind that he's conducting this seditious court proceeding while under investigation. There's while under suspension. There's an investigation going. As such, you're under suspension, which means you're supposed to be moot. What you're supposed to be doing is gathering your evidence and present it before the court to prove me wrong. If I'm wrong, according to my affidavit and the allegations being presented in the affidavit, knowing that I have the evidence to prove my point, so I was going to present it at the court if they had presented it to the court. But instead of allowing this due process to take place, they said, nope, I'm circumventing all of that. I'm disregarding this investigation, and we're going straight for impeachment by the 2nd and the 3rd, to include excommunication, blocking me from accessing the database. Where do they do that at in any country that the president, the head of state, or whoever cannot access the database anymore? All because of an affidavit? I appreciate your sentiment, but perhaps you might have to go back and look at this video one more time to get further clarity. Any other questions, comments, and concerns?
I want to answer Sultan. I just want to make a comment to Damien. Peace and love to you, brother, and I appreciate you coming in and then joining us. My name is DJ Alexander Bay. I'm a Wazir of Alabama.
Islam.
I've been with this family for about almost 4 years, bro, and I was a PGF. And as a formal person from a Moorish American background, I'm gonna speak on myself personally. I was looking for something different because what I went through didn't work. So as time went on, I ended up meeting other Moorish Americans, and then all of a sudden, I end up meeting my brother, which is the Prime Minister, Akil, and then I met also. And after that, I met, now our Sultan, Abdul. But in the beginning, we had to start off learning the impact study sessions. When you see JJ Bay, for me coming in as a Moorish American, I was like, that's the answer. That's what we've been looking for. I've never heard of international law. And I felt like international law was the missing piece of the puzzle. So we got in tuned into his lectures. So as time went on, I'm getting involved into I'm getting involved in with the Moroccan way. I'm talking to Akil, I'm talking to our Sultan, and then Akil put me up under his wing. So we start building a family, and the empire starting to grow according to the direction that we are going. As time went on, my brother, that guy that you saw on that screen from 1 through 176 is not the same guy in person, bro. Is he a good researcher? Yes, he is. But we have great researchers on our team as well. But on my personal experience, I saw the different mindset. Our Sultan came to decolonize, and he has made statements on nationalizing. How long does it take for you guys to do this? He was stern about getting us nationalized so we can build this empire. You got to understand, we hadn't been the empire since 1956. That's almost 70 years, if I'm not mistaken. So if you finna go in with a good sound mind and a great group of people to start it off, we can't embarrass ourselves. But with inside my brother, I saw a lot of embarrassment because JJ Bay was trying to be the Sultan. Why? Is it because he started what happened and he felt like that he needs all allegiance? That's a mental thing. So to have somebody sit down and talk to a person that's like that, who wants power over a sultan and over the people, all because he brought international law. I'm not just saying he brought it himself, but he just brought the idea of international law. Is beneath me when you're trying to start an empire to govern Morocco, a Moroccan country. It's hard to sit down with people like that who has power over people first. You can't sit down with them because the stuff that he said to the Sultan is embarrassing to not only to him but to us. I could have never let that happen if I was sitting in there while he was talking to the Sultan like that. So at the same time, when you build a foundation and you see one person is trying to take over and but has a background of that our that our AG has pretty much unraveled, there's no way you can sit down with that particular person like that, any person like that, bro. You can't sit down with that and let him see reasoning because power is his head. So I just want to bring that to you, bro, and just I hear what you saying, and it's everybody can't you can't sit with everybody. You know what I'm saying? You can't sit down and be diplomatic with everybody. A person like that needs to move on to something different because over here is structure and the sultan has a direction and everybody that's in here followed that direction because we came here to decolonize, not to be part of the empire of Colorado. It's the empire of Morocco and we are the people. When you hear the sultan speaks, bro, he speak of us, then himself, then the empire, and that's and he just that type of guy, and it's not an act, and that's the thing about it, it's genuine. You know what I'm saying? You can tell a person that's I'm just trying to be something that was just put in position or being an actor. He's genuinely like that, bro. So that's why it's that's why I say I couldn't sit there and allow Jay to talk to him like that. We got some great people around here, bro, and I think that Jay right now with the people that he has following him, he's poisoned their mind. That's why hopefully today, um, wherever you at, I don't know, what's your stance, but this is where this is home over here, bro. And the Sultan will welcome you with open arms, or he would talk to you personally. Any conversation you had, he's just that type of dude. You know what I'm saying? We love him like that. But to sit down with a person like that who's got uh power on his mind, and then he hate the fact that somebody is going against his will, that's sickening. It's a mental issue, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can't sit with people like that. And I know I could, because I had a small little run-in with them like that. And it's just sad to see that's how it is versus the guy that you see on them study sessions. We wanted that guy. And I think we all got fooled and blindsided by that guy. But when you listen to that guy, you can hear it. Like, whoa, you have to question, like, what is your role? And he's a chief judge, so chief judge is supposed to be neutral. You don't never supposed to go outside of your rank. You're supposed to always stay neutral. But this guy is writing everybody's documents. And if you notice the documents that the Sultan was reading, it felt personal. It was like you trying to base it off a judgment of a character, but you're trying to build yourself up as it is. You're trying to make it seem like that the people are stating that they're not. No one talks like that, bro. Like no one, you don't have to write that because you can express it in words. You don't have to write that to make it sound like it's lawful. That's not a lawful thing. That's a personal thing. So I say to you, bro, to me, in my opinion, you can't sit down with people like that. And the Sultan is fighting hard for people to get a good understanding. We've been talking about this damn near a month, because people is coming to the Sultan, asking them questions, asking us questions about what's going on. And I'm glad he's addressing it, so that people can have a good understanding that he is the only true Sultan. If you understood the people over the other side, their background, once that come out, you're gonna be like, whoa. But that's for the AG to speak on. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to bring that to you, bro. And it's love over here, and peace of love to you, bro, for asking that question. So with that, I yield.
I
And again,
appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
there was two separate opportunities to sit down, like competent officials, colleagues, and hash this out. First time it was an affidavit for you to stand before the Constitutional Council. You said, bump that. We're gonna impeach you. So then I come and I say again, no, how about here's a state of emergency. Now I got to invoke a state of emergency, and these measures that I'm taking to solve this state of emergency is for you to appear before the council, sir. Stop running and masterminding. I know this man. I used to spend 10 hours on the phone with him. 8 hours was nothing. Several of them. Several times we spent 8 hours on the phone, 10 hours. At the very least, 5 hours. Just going in, just he thinks I learned. I learned more. I learned more than he thought I did. I learned about him as a Gemini. Wazir, I'm very cynical, but just in the positive, though. I only manipulate situations to come out for the positive. Yeah, okay, that sounds good, but if you can do it in the positive, you can do it in the negative. And that's what I've been seeing the whole time. In hindsight, what happened with Impact 1.0, now it's like, oh, it makes sense when I think, they say hindsight is 2020. It happened to me. I got the wool pulled over my eyes regarding Wazir Dawood of Impact 1.0. He made me believe that Dawood was committing the coup d'etat. No, it was you. And he put the Sayaraha against him. Same thing he did here. He's telling everyone that I'm committing a coup d'etat, and he puts 5 women against me, 1 judge and 4 House members. It's the same playbook. Moore's better wake up to this. I know we want to be buddies under all circumstances, but that's not the case. It can't be that way, unfortunately. And you know why? Because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Anyone else got any points of interest or comments or concerns?
What does this mean going forward as a collective? For the Empire of Morocco, all that. Like, what does all that mean, and what's the resolve?
Well, like I said, this is all these removals and they all been officially notified and it's all been promulgated. They're just doing it anyway. They're just conducting business as usual anyway. They removing me anyway. They they got a new sultan anyway, right? So okay. So you have AMPAC 2.0. I've been very specific with these documents. And I just said it earlier. All those who were complicit in this coup d'etat to subvert my authority and remove me and replace me with someone else. That's what a coup d'etat is. They seize power from the head of state, and they put a puppet in that place, in that position. The United States underwent one in 1871, basically seditious, right? The corporation is not ran by the officials of the United States. It's ran by a foreign corporation. We already know that. Same concept. So what does it mean? Well, the good news is that part of the issue is that it appears as though there was a controlled opposition operation taking place in which we were being taken down the path of, let me pull it up. This is the UN charter, right? This is the article, this chapter, or this chapter 11, article 73, declaration regarding non-self-governing territories. This is our clause within the charter. What he's proposing, well, the direction that he has us going in is this one, Pacific Settlement of Disputes, which is a mechanism set forth for the members of the General Assembly, like I mentioned earlier. So if one of those recognized countries have a dispute with another, they got to invoke chapter 6, Article 33, Pacific Settlement of Disputes. The parties of any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement. Resort to regional agencies or arrangements or other peaceful means of their own choice. This is the path that he had us going in. Well, in all actuality, we're supposed to be using the C-24. So under this new leadership, this new direction, right, this new vision, this new mission, that's the path that we'll be taking. We'll not be going to no ICJ. The ICJ is designed for advisory opinion in situations in which the colonized and the colonizer are not seeing eye to eye, and the C-24 and the United Nations are involved. So in order to make a final determination, they ask for an advisory opinion, meaning that the judges of the ICJ will look at the law. In our case, it would be two different forms of law. One would be the international agreements through the United Nations, such as Resolution 1514, the rights of indigenous peoples, and all those different documents. Once that's been identified, to say, okay, yes, according to these documents, they fit the bill, right? They fit the requirement. Now they're going to look at another set of documents that relates to us and only us on planet Earth. And that would be the treaties. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the Treaty of Madrid, the Act of Algeciras, etc. To say, okay, so these Moors, not only do they have, right, Resolution 1514, but they also have the Act of Algeciras to further confirm their right to self-determination, right, and decolonization. So what does it mean now is what your question is. That's the direction that we're going in, period. I'm talking about linear. None of that going up and down the block all around the planet to come back around to the sun and then end up at the moon. But then, oh, my bad, we got to go back to planet Earth. That's what's been going on. Gatekeeping, delaying our justice. We've been working with the PGFs for over a year with a brand new version of the trusteeship system to assist them to regain their sovereignty and independence, or should I say their state recognition. Still hasn't happened. So that's a different restructuring that has taken place. So we're saying, okay, nope, we're not doing that no more. We're making a distinction. One is state recognition, the other one is nationality. So as far as the nationality, that comes first. That comes first. If you do nothing else, proclaim your nationality. Meaning, if you don't even build a state, proclaim your nationality. So we're going with that advice from Noble Drew Ali. Proclaim your nationality. So we'll work with you to get your nationality, and then afterwards, if you're able to attract 3 people minimum to establish a state, to establish the 3 branches, one of them has to be a woman because she represents the legislative branch, then we'll work with you on that. But first comes nationality, then state recognition. And we're trying to fill the map. I don't care if you have a state. I don't care if you're an individual. I don't care if you're just one person in North Dakota. You can gain your nationality because it's coming from the empire, the country. And that makes us look good for the dossier that we got to put together, the package that we got to put together for the C-24 that will potentially also be submitted to the AU, African Union. We got plans, but the plans that we're having is to officially commit ourselves to absolutely decolonizing and going in that direct linear path of decolonization, absent of some judicial reforms going to the ICJ. So they'll be going to the ICJ, we're going to the C-24. They are AMPAC 2.0, the seditious group who has attempted to undermine me as the Sultan and the Constitution of the Empire and went off with the government database. They went off with the website. They even took my seal. They just took everything. But guess what? I've already been through this before. My first Raha of AMPAC did the same exact thing, similar to it. I didn't care. You can't hold me hostage. I'm not going to allow my people to be held hostage because of some documentation or whatever you think you have. We'll just start over. We'll put it all together again. But what we're not going to deal with is treasonous behavior and seditious activity, period. So to answer your questions more specifically, we're moving along under my leadership, the de jure empire. We're going straight to the United Nations and the C-24, as well as communicating with other international bodies and nations to complete this process. We need to gain recognition from Burkina Faso or whoever we need to get it from, whatever we got to do by any means necessary to get this done. It's been 1.5 years since the public inauguration, and we haven't seen not even a letter from anyone. And we've been sending letters after letters after letters. I got tired of that. I said, no, something ain't right. We got to start doing something else. This is when I started writing letters to Ibrahim Traore and stuff, which caused me to be like, to their concerns is, well, your letter is not on time. Who dictates the time, J-Bay? We need a letter by this such and such time to send to this person and all this and that. Trump and all this, based on what? The judicial settlement of disputes, mediation, arbitration, conciliation, adjudication. So it was like 5 letters at different moments over a period of time, just to cover each one of those. A mediation letter, an inquiry letter, and a conciliation letter, and all this. And it has nothing to do with that. Our problem has nothing to do with that. Our problem has to do with Chapter 73, which is the non-self-governing territories who's seeking independence. Let's focus on that and be specific with that. The direct impact of decolonization versus anything else that basically renders us to just going in circles, wasting time, justice. That's the answer to your question, sister. And I hope I answered it clear enough.
Point of privilege. This is Buck from BC. I can understand the brother, wants to be diplomatic and try to sit down, but sometimes people like that you can't sit down with, because if you do, then in the back of their mind, okay, that gives them more time to do something else later on down the line, So you got to be real careful about who you want to try to sit down with and try to bring back, because some people will just wait, marinate, and come up with something else, because, our state's been here over 3 years, and all they had us doing was working on boxes and this and that, and it was just tiresome,
Are you recognized now, good brother Buck? Are you recognized now?
We are recognized now.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the difference, sister.
So yeah, you got to be careful when you talking about sitting down with people to try to bring back. It's some people stab you in the back even the same way, man. Some people you just can't do that with.
Point of privilege. You know,
Right.
it's amazing how unlike what J Bay did, the Sultan, I mean, he had time to adjust and course correct. Unlike what he did to the Sultan, and that's even amazing. I just give you a lot of credit for standing on what the Constitution, because they can't say the same about the Sultan. Clearly, you know, he had time.
Mhm.
He had time, and I yield.
Ample time. They all did. I didn't just go straight from removal. I'm not saying that I'm unhinged. No, stop it already. I had a golden opportunity during the state of emergency that I invoked, and I still said, "Nah, come on, come on, come on over here. Stop the masterminding. Let's go through this process, please. Let's just do that." Keep in mind, this is the third investigation and second coup d'état. That's not somebody to sit down and be diplomatic with. That's someone to throw in the trash and move on to bigger and better things with honorable, noble Moors. We're supposed to be noble. We're supposed to be in higher self. We're supposed to be in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Not coup d'état and all. Why is somebody always trying to perform a coup on him? Daoud perform a coup on him. Now I'm performing a coup on him. Really? It sounds like it's you, sir. I yield. Any questions, comments, or concerns before we close out?
Point of privilege.
Yes, speaker.
This is a speaker for the Empire. The House is presenting a couple of resolutions, constitutional resolutions, to say that we probably should do a comprehensive reform to our Constitution, being that Jay Bay said we would never understand it, and some of the language not being defined. And we'd also like to make amendments and have, time restraints placed in when these type of requests or acts are made. We got we have time, like a duration of time that's put in there. So this is, I mean, it'll never happen again, but so they can't have a extraordinary measure one day, no confidence vote next day. There needs to be time
Right.
restraints put in on these actions. I yield.
I appreciate this your
Um,
sermon on that, and that's something that we can definitely sit down and discuss. To include being more specific in defining the word or the what defines high crimes, because he's taken that that vague term and spinning that narrative to his advantage to say, "Oh, he submitted an affidavit. That's a high crime." We can't do it like that. But I yield. Someone else had a point of interest.
yes. Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Yes. Is there anything being done? I was dealing with Kendon, and it's just kind of disheartening that, first of all, what's going on, but secondly, you know, I think we can, how can I put this? We're looking to, is there anything being done to streamline the process to pledge allegiance to the empire? You
Yes.
know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I got excited. I
no,
love that
because
question. Go ahead.
yeah, well, I've been waiting, and you know, um, I I wanted to even go like over to the Science Temple in Houston and talk to them. You know, I don't want to get deep into my background, but I deal with people. People receive me greatly, and Chloe Ivory is my wife. We're just motivated for our people. You know, this is all new, but you know, man, it's just so much going through my mind. You know, I want to give my life to this because this is my people, and we've been disenfranchised and hurt and stepped on and kicked around for so long, and to find out who we really are, you know, from the bottom of your soul, you should be able to, you know, find the strength to get past what Jay's going through. You know, it's like he's a genius, but he wants the power, and like you said, doing what the colonizers are doing or what the cabal is doing. We should overall have just more, strength collectively as a people to come together and do things for the collective, which you are standing for, you know. But I'll yield, man. I'll talk in the future. I'm just motivated, and I want to get with the empire and just forge forward like a jet rocket,
Well,
So
let me. I'll answer your question in several
Point of
ways.
end.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I was wondering if we could get just a brief background on Mr. Kendon Bay and his associates alike. That way,
Well,
we are.
we're gonna do a full presentation on that. I don't want to steal the attorney general's thunder on this discussion. It's very important and
Yes, sir.
it's very okay. Let me answer this good brother. He said a couple of things. He said streamline. He said bringing the people together. Well, let's talk about a couple of things. This hasn't been made fully official yet, but since you brought it up, um, we'll talk about this in addition to the streamlining aspect. That's what I mentioned earlier. We're streamlining the recognition of nationality, right? But like you see, good brother Buck and even DJ Alexander, they 3, 4 years, and no recognition of nothing, not the state recognition or nationality. So we since they had already been through such a rigorous, um, strict, uh, corporate structure agent like delaying your justice type of vetting process. We said, okay, you've already done all that, so we went forward with recognition of their state and their nationality. But like I said earlier, we're separating the two. Before, you needed to have 5 groups, 5 members within your group to even petition the WRC to establish your state. Once your state is established, then you get recognized through the establishment of your state. Your nationality gets recognized through the establishment of your state. We're not doing that anymore. Where your nationality is being recognized directly from the empire now, first, and then if you afterwards, if you're able to gather 3 people rather than 5 now, just at least cover the 3 branches, then we will work with you on the state recognition portion of it. Because we definitely need these states to cover each one of these colonial territories. These are moxins, according to the historical um the history, the historical authority, sovereign authority of the empire. If that power, the power that the Sultan had, flowed through the Moxen, right? In other words, the Sultan can't be everywhere at one time, so the Moxen holds its place in his absence, right? So there was always a Moxen in every province to oversee that territory. Same concept. We need a Moxen in every colonial state to oversee that territory. So it's of utmost importance for us to establish state governments within each one of those territories, but not more important than at least first your nationality. So we're streamlining that. Secondly, we have now, I think I saw the Grand Sheik on here from Temple 8 of Arkansas, the Morris Science Temple of America. This is a Sharifian decree of recognition and repatriation. So in this document, I'm recognizing Morris Science Temple of America Temple number 8, but it's not going to be, that's part of the language that's going to change. It's not Temple number 8. Official recognition. The temple, formerly known as the Morris Science Temple of America, Temple number 8, is hereby officially recognized and shall henceforth be known and styled as the Morris Science Temple of Morocco, the grand governing body, under the executive rulership of Grand Sheik Noble Holloway Ale. Now, let me show you something. The Declaration of Repatriation Path. This temple is recognized as a lawful and divinely sanctioned institution of their infirmities and regain their knowledge of self, shed their status as naturalized persons in a foreign jurisdiction, and undergo the sacred process of reclaiming their inherent God-given Moroccan nationality. Okay, so and then we're also Article 4. You see here that we're bridging the divine and national movement. So under my leadership now, which is something that I've always wanted to do, which is what I told the who became the wazir, who's now removed of Ampag 2.0, Watson Ali. He was a Grand Sheik, and when he came in, when I was the wazir of Ampag, he asked me, do he need to quit his position as Grand Sheik? I said, no. You're going to be like my agent. You're going to stay in the temples, and through you, we're going to clean up the temples and bring the divine and national movement together. That was always an idea of mine. That was back in 2022. Now I'm finally able to exercise that concept
Point
and
of
that idea.
privilege. I don't know
Uh-huh.
about anybody else, but that last paragraph you kind of cut off.
Well, okay, that's okay. I'll try to read it
You
again, but
cut, yeah, just from you cut off right when you were explaining, or actually a lot from 3. Just if you
okay,
can you just go over that short Islam. Are
right. But
you?
let me. I was dang. I lost my train of thought. So yeah. Anyway, to your point, brother, we're bringing the temples together, and anyone else that wants to, we're open. We have open arms to all our people. And now, what you're referring to, sister, is the Declaration of Repatriation Pact. I read it again. This temple is recognized as a lawful and divinely sanctioned institution for repatriation. It shall serve as a rite of passage and a house of learning for naturalized Moors, misclassified as black, etc., seeking to learn of their infirmities and regain their knowledge of self, shed their status as naturalized persons in a foreign jurisdiction, and undergo the sacred process of reclaiming their inherent God-given Moroccan nationality. This is something that was not going to happen under the regime from AMPAC 2.0. The Grand Sheik had already spoken to Jay, and he told him, "Nah, we ain't messing with no temples." But that was always his perspective, and I was like, Part of the vetting process was to exclude the temples, um, or someone who was a member of the temples. So anyhow, good brother, that's the new direction. We're just coming out of this coup d'etat, failed coup d'etat, although they're conducting themselves as if it's not a failed coup d'etat, but it is. And so we're restructuring everything. We got to redo everything that was already, you know, that was stolen. So there's a lot of hard work that's going along with this. But more importantly, as we're working to restructure everything, we're still got our eyes focused and our energy and direction focused on decolonization by way of the C-24 and all those procedures that's necessary to achieve that goal and that task. I hope I answered your question. Okay, so it's 10, it's going on 11 o'clock. One last question before we close out, or comment or concern.
Islam. Point of interest. Is that brother in Texas who asked that question?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, you need to get with this good brother Rashid. Brother, get their contact information.
Yeah, because we've only spoken to Kendon and Mansour.
Okay, well, you might want to be available for the for the Attorney General's presentation. It's not pretty over there with those guys, but I'll leave that up to the Attorney General when his time is up, which is next week or whenever his time is next to do his presentation. But I will caution you to be um uh look at both sides carefully before making your final decision. Um it's a funny business over there. It's funny business with Impact 2.0, period. This is what I'm working to settle on behalf of the empire and the people. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we've been waiting about almost 3 months now to
Yeah, that's
start the
yep.
process. They mentioned this, and this is how we know what's going on. Huh?
No, go ahead, sister. My bad.
They were, for Keith, they were trying to, because he knew so much, they wanted to bring him in,
Lost you.
put him into some type of position or something. But yeah, everything has kind of been like standstill. We don't know what's going on. So
Right.
just see your page today on TikTok. I was just like, finally, like we'll get some answers,
Yeah, they don't want to.
great.
Yeah, Yep. And we've been talking about it. What's the name of our YouTube channel again? Empire of Morocco Media. Empire of
Media.
Morocco Media. You can go on YouTube, type in Empire of Morocco Media, and you'll see a lot of our videos in which we've been doing this. We've been explaining this. They have not been very forthcoming. Um, the best that they've done is these two study sessions, and it's just first of all, the first study session that he was presenting, in which he was discussing the case, was out of order because he had already recused himself. I just read his recusal letter. So you can't recuse yourself from the case and then talk about the cases. It's just nonsensical. You're not the only one. Good brother Rashid that you were just speaking with, he was on hold for like close to a year. The good brother Tyrone, he was on hold for about 8 months. So this is what I'm talking about with the gatekeeping. You've been on hold for 3 months, and I guess part of it was to settle this. Part of that time period was dealing with this, because see, he was being appointed. I'm not sure. They claim that he was voted in. Whatever they did, he's now the Sultan of Ampak 2.0, not of the Empire, of Ampak 2.0. So that's the confusion that people are having at this moment, and this is part of the reason why I got to start to now come back out of my shell, because I went into a shell when I became Sultan, and I just basically let them run the empire. And they also told me that I shouldn't be teaching classes. So it took me out of the people's mindset, their consciousness, right? And so I've been trying to regain that position with the people here and there with podcasts and doing lives getting on people's lives on TikTok to inform them about what's going on and things of that nature, which also caused some disputes between us because you don't need to be on social media, you don't need to be doing. They don't want me talking to the people, right? For whatever reason, I don't know. Is That's why these arguments about spotlight and all that. That's why it's suspect, because I'm not even looking for spotlight. I'm trying to spread the word, but you're taking it as I want to take your spotlight, and this is I don't know where this stuff comes from, but it's an incompetent legal argument. But I would say to you, um, you know, you saw this presentation, you know, make your decision based on that. Um, you're at the right place, but you know, I don't know. They're telling people things that's causing them to say, I'm gonna go with you. And like one guy, one moment he's with them, then he realizes what happens, and he's like, nah, man, I'm with you, Sultan. And then he's back over there again because according to them, he can get him out of jail and I can't. It's like, is this about getting out of jail, or is it about decolonization? Keeping in mind that he wasn't able to get anyone out of jail. Amir Kane L wasn't able to come out of jail. He was spent 6 months in jail. Anu Merman Bey is in jail. Jordan is in jail. He can't come out and pull him out of jail. And it's part of Kendon's fault. But that's another story. I'll let the AG discuss the legalities surrounding that circumstance. But that's a foolish consideration. It's what you need to be looking at is what is the forward progress? What is it that we're planning on doing? What is it that each side is planning on doing? Well, I just gave you our game plan. We're uniting the temples. We're going as a direct path to the C-24 to complete the decolonization process. We're nationalizing people on the front end and then helping them with their state recognition and the establishment of their territories on the back end, right? There's a lot of changes, positive changes that's taking place. It's a cooperative environment now. Previous to this, it was a strict my way or the highway type of environment. Now it's a free flowing environment where everyone bring their creative juices, their intelligence, their concepts, their ideas to the table, right? It's all welcome now. So this, you know, you could ask around the folks that's a part of this side of the movement, the proper side of the movement, the legit, de jure side of the movement. Because as I just pointed out and showed beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I hope it was beyond a shadow of a doubt, that everything that was done on the other side was absolutely unconstitutional and against the law. And the legal arguments were not legal arguments. And I also prove, I hope, that the investigation was absolutely um, undermined and sabotaged, and they moved to a quick, fast, and in a hurry, 2, 3 days, let's get it done type of impeachment. Which was lacking due process, among so many other things. So hopefully this might help you in making a more informed decision regarding which direction you would like to take. And I hope that you make the right decision and come work with us. We would love to have you.
In point of interest, I just want to point out to Attorney General Kanye here. We're gonna dive really deep. We're gonna dive really deep. And next week is going to be a very probably emotional situation for a lot of people. What's going to happen next week is you cannot allow your emotions to get in front of the truth. From a legal standpoint, it's going to be exposed on not only what they've done to you, but what they've tried to do personally for themselves and the selfish endeavors that they've done for the last 2 or 3 years. It's going to be you need to really have a piece of paper. You need to really have points of interest. You need to really be taking notes next week. And constantly what I'm hearing on these calls is, well, I've been waiting 3 months. I've been waiting 2 years. I've been waiting for a year. And if you go to the 1880 Treaty of Madrid, Article 15, it says without delay. It says without delay for nationality. But because they put someone in a position to delay the Moors' justice from an executive chief of staff or from an administrative standpoint, and the treaties, which is the supreme law of the land, but the treaties don't fall into full effect until really didn't fall in full effect to the Moors from a legal standpoint until the Sultan signed your constitution, your de jure Sultan that you're speaking to tonight. So then when the 1880 treaty came into full effect from the Sultan signing our signing our constitution a year and a half ago, Moors that were coming in for nationality were supposed to have nationalities without delay. So I'm going to dive into that next week. But the most disturbing thing you're going to see is that brothers and sisters that's been sitting around for 3 years, 3.5 years, 2 months, 3 months have been delayed, but they gave nationality to people. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not going to even finish because my finishing sentence is going to be next week. So remember what I said. They delayed good people, but gave nationalities and protected people that, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And then I'll finish from that next week.
Okay.
Islam.
Islam, Noble. I thought you had finished, but I guess you cut out. Islam. So yeah. So stay tuned for next week. Perhaps we can. I hate to leave anyone hanging. Is there one other comment, question, or concern?
Yeah, point of interest. So I got one quick question for the sister and brother from Texas. Um, Given to what you heard tonight and versus you with Kendon, how do you feel? Are you confused? Are you, I know y'all have your own personal journey, on the direction that you want to go. So tonight, how do you feel about what's taking place?
Um, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yes. Long story short, I was on the SWAT team in the Marine Corps. I've been a pastor. I've studied various religions. We've been down the secure party creditor route. We know about estates. Like we've been really studying law. Um, I grew up like in the hood and drug dealing communities. I have multimillionaire friends. I'm just saying, I'm 60 years old and I know, excuse my language, shit from a shingle. You know what I mean? So when you hear the truth as opposed to just words and verbiage and you guys are, as the people say now, you guys have the receipts. It's illogical and it shouldn't be hard to see. So as you said, when people take their emotions out, you should be able to see the truth. It's point blank, dry and simple. And the way you guys expressed it, as the Honorable Sultan came across with his spirit, he wasn't stuttering, he wasn't making anything up, he was coming from his heart. Anyone that can judge a character can tell that. So, and then with myself speaking with Kendon, um, yeah, making things up, not getting back, and not ask, some questions he couldn't answer, or I'll get back with you, and he never does. You know, just with investigating and seeking out spirits and listening, you guys are, on point. It's just that simple. To me, there's no question about where the truth lies, and especially who has the best interest of our people at heart, from their spirit, and from their soul. So I know I'm on the right team over here. So I yield.
Yeah,
Um, you,
I'm sorry, Sultan.
hold on 1 second,
Go ahead.
because I need to know the good brother's name because he has iPhone on his name. We need to know this good brother's name.
Oh, for now, until I could change it, is Keith Gordon, and my
Okay,
wife is Chloe Ivory Gordon. So
it's fine. Just needed to know that. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, I was just curious because when you said his name and Dylan, I didn't know if you was getting I didn't know if you was in the mix of being confused to go back and forth. And what you said, everything that you just said, you hit everything on the head over here. Um and and you genuinely felt that. So it wasn't no gimmick to pull you in or to make you see something over here versus over there. What Sultan gave you all the receipts, everything that he has done, he went through it. Here's the thing though, he did it because he's the Sultan and he was questioning their behavior. That's the thing about it. It wasn't that he was trying to defend himself from attacking them. He was it was a situation where he had to handle because that's what his role implies. And again, but at the same time, he has a good heart, and sometimes it plays, against him sometimes, and that's why the Wazirs here and the family he has here, we have to protect that of him because we know how it is, and he saw that by giving his heart to the empire and letting some people do it, he had to sit back and it, even though it didn't fold completely, he had a chance to recover, with the help of the prime and the help of the AG and everything. And so, brother, I hope you and your wife, I hope the Empress, y'all come together and y'all do get a chance to come here because once as we got involved and as he took back over the empire, um, first thing he did with us, along with California, he nationalized us. And I'm from Alabama. And I got a daughter who goes to Prairie View in Texas. So that's why I was just asking. But uh, yeah, brother, I just wanted to hear, you and your wife thoughts and see how you felt about it. Cause, I know Kendon is in Texas. And I didn't know if it was like a back and forth mental thing with you and your wife. And we just want you to know this, it's not a gimmick over here. The Sultan, he doesn't play about his people. And that's one thing about it. He's stern, but he don't play about his people. And he always put us first. and we had to take heed to that. And I think we just had a minor setback, but we on the right track. So hopefully you and your wife will come aboard and be part of the family, and get nationalized. And if it's a place for you in Texas, I'm sure the brothers over there, the Wazir over there, will take good care of you, bro. So with that being said, I yield and welcome to the family.
Yes, good brother. So please get with Rashid Ale. He's the Wazir of Dimty, the Dimty Moxon. See, there's two Dimtys. There's Dimty 2.0 and there's Dimty Moxon. Wherever you see 2.0, that's them over there with that foolishness and the sedition and the treason. Moxon means the empire. So it's Ampag Moxon, Dimty Moxon, right? Maru Moxon, etc. Ampag, which by the way, I got to write a letter for them. Ampag Moxon just completed their inauguration uh, yesterday, which now puts them in a position where the state of emergency is lifted because they're back to three branches. From Dimty, which is Texas, they only have two officers right now, the wazir and the judge. And your wife can potentially play the role of, well, not play the role, but take the position of legislator, Sayaraha. And you got to be careful with nepotism. But outside of the three branches, it's okay. So you can potentially be the consul general or minister of foreign affairs or something like that. So that can be discussed further with Rashid, and then we'll go from there. But just know that you're in good hands. We'll take care of you. Get with Wazir, and we'll help you through the process, get your nationality, and get you onboarded as government officials for Dimty, because we gotta settle that problem with Dimty. Everything is on our, not everything. The empire, the state of emergency. Let me say this: the state of emergency for the empire has been lifted, and it was lifted probably 2 weeks ago. I have 30 days minimum or so to clean up, to utilize the emergency sweeping powers to clean up any threats.
Yeah.
I accomplished it within the first 2-3 weeks at the most. So the empire, the three branches of the empire was restructured, which matters the most. The next step now is the internal state. So the government of the country, the three branches of the country, the speaker, the prime minister, the chief judge, that was restructured and completed. Now we're working with the internal states. So as I told them in the letter, Ampag first, and then Dimty next. I could tell that that's the direction that things were going in. And lo and behold, here come you two, you and your wife. And I appreciate your intelligent discernment and common sense, because most of this is really common sense. It's just it's actually clear and blatant. It's just, do you want to see it or you don't want to see it? Are you in a state of fellowship, or you're in a state of scholarship? Well, most of those who went with him are in a state of fellowship and dependency, which is why they did what they did, which is why they became complicit. They drank the poisonous Kool-Aid and committed political suicide in doing so.
Funny interest.
Mhm. Yes. Oh, Grand Sheik. What's up?
Yeah. It's right quick before everybody got off the phone, me and my empress here, we wanted to ask about the agricultural thing, and does anybody that's within the group own land? And if so, for them to, drop their email, and we can email them and get that portion in play. And I yield.
And
Okay, yes. I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
point of interest from the AG and from my good brother and sister that's down in Texas. Sometimes people get uncomfortable. You're going to find out next week why Kendon's been so uncomfortable with you. Sometimes when you walk in a room with people who have that can read, that can read bullshit, that has, like you said, you a Marine, you're disciplined, you know how to read people. Well, you're going to see next week why you and your wife has been delayed. because people sometimes don't want to be in a room with you, don't want to be in a room with your wife. Why? Because that means that they have to raise their standards up. So you're going to find out next week why you were delayed, why a certain person couldn't answer the could couldn't answer your questions, why they didn't get back with you, because they knew your background. And they said, well, if we bring those type of people in, they're going to be watching everything we do. We're not going to be able to handle the standards that they uphold for themselves. They're going to have expectations for us. So all those things will be cleared up for you next week, and you're going to walk away and say, oh, I see now. I promise you that. And peace and love to you and your matriarch. Islam.
We
Islam.
appreciate that. Thank you, Islam.
And to the Grand Sheik, we'll get those emails. We'll here's what you do, Grand Sheik, because this is probably not the platform for it. I added you to the Telegram. I would ask for you to, add your members to the Telegram as well. And by way of that platform, you can present that question. And at some point in the near future, we'll have, we're going to have subsequent meetings, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss that matter more officially, and at that point in time. Islam, Grand Sheik. But yeah, in the meantime, though, you can always pose that question in the Telegram and see who has land and which direction we can go in with that. All right. Well, it's 11. Look at that. It's 11:11. Perfect time to shut it down and
Islam.
close off. Right.
Islam.
Yeah, man. Excellent meeting. I appreciate those who showed up. I appreciate all the questions, comments, and concerns. I appreciate the understanding. And I appreciate the fact that people like yourself, good brother Keith, can see the truth in what I'm trying to present here. Um, the truth oftentimes it comes out of you, not so much so out of your mouth, but out of your
Yes.
energy, your vibration,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's deeper than just words coming out of your mouth. Um, and when I watch those, but I haven't really watched the latest AMPAC. I haven't watched AMPAC study session since 165. It started to become a thing with me, because things were just growing. It was just getting worse and worse what I was seeing. Um, um, you know, uh, but the few clips on Facebook or social media that I've seen with him speaking about this scenario, this so-called failed coup d'etat and so-called impeachment and things, I can see how uncomfortable he is. I can see it. I know the difference. I've been watching AMPAC study sessions since 2022, 2021, late 2021, probably around November of 2021. Fast forward to 174, 175, the clips that I've seen, notice that he has a Empire of Morocco banner set up on the side where the AMPAC 2.0 banner used to stand. Where'd that come from? What made you course correct on that, sir? Is it because I've been calling you out for being AMPAC 2.0? That's very interesting, right? That's very interesting. It says a lot of what I need to know. But that's the point right there, to your point, good brother. People tell on themselves, and he's been telling on themselves. He's been telling his truth, but we've been ignoring it for the most part due to Stockholm syndrome, dependency. Most of these people don't even really like the brother. They say it to me all the time. But he has positioned himself as the ultimate authority for knowledge and understanding. No one understands and knows like him and could write like him. So therefore, everyone is, are submitting to the to to his jurisdiction, if you will. And it's just shameful. But that's not government. And I'm not gonna, as the Sultan, is incumbent upon me to adhere, to ensure that the will of the people is cared for, the well-being of the people is cared for. And I can't take chances with weak, I'll say it again. I can't take chances with weak and incompetent government officials who aren't fit to govern or lead a people. And that's AMPAC 2.0 and their affiliates. With that, I'll close out. Peace, love, and prosperity. We'll catch you next week. Long live the Empire and His Majesty the Sultan. Peace and love, everybody.
Long live the Empire.
Long live
Long
the
live the
empire
empire.
and majesty the Sultan.
Majesty the Sultan.
Islam.
Islam.
Love, more.
Islam.
Peace and love.
His Majesty the Sultan. That's right.
All love.
Islam.